Welcome to the first annual New Thought Walden Awards. I'm Reverend Julie Moret with the Agape International Spiritual Center.
And I'm Reverend Dr. David Goldberg with Centers for Spiritual Living, Guide for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind magazine. And what a joy it is. It's our pleasure to be your hosts and to welcome you to the first 2018 New Thought Walden Awards. These awards represent the combined work and forces of the Association for Global New Thought, Unity, Centers for Spiritual Living, the Agape International Spiritual Centers, and representatives from Universal Foundation for Better Living, who have all joined together to create a list of 20 new thought and socially conscious leaders, all working to create positive change in the world, and especially in our own communities.
There are 5 award categories with 3 honorees in each. All have a spiritually guided component at the base of their work. The categories include New Thought Wisdom for Today's World, Interfaith and Intercultural Understanding, Care and Reverence for the Earth, Spiritually Guided Social Activism, The Next Generation, along with 2 special awards, the Mind Body Healing Award and the Changemaker Award. By highlighting the extraordinary works done by folks just like you and me, we hope to awaken whatever is ready to emerge next in your life right now and provide that extra dose of inspiration to take the leap.
So let's dive in. We have a wonderful and powerful group of co-hosts who will introduce each category. And those people are Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Dr. Ken Gordon, Reverend Temple Hayes, Reverend Kevin Ross, and Dr. David Alexander. One of our co-hosts is unable to be with us because of some health challenges, and we send our love and healing energy to Dr. Michelle Madrano.
Absolutely.
And for our opening blessing, Reverend Dr. Julie, would you do the honors, please?
It would be my pleasure. So New Thought, let's do what we do. Let's pray. I'm so grateful to stop in this moment, to turn within and become aware of that omnipresent goodness, that presence of goodness that is everywhere always, the source that is God, that is the center of my absolute beingness. And as I know this is so for myself, I know it's absolutely true for you right where you are, right smack in the center of this moment. And so I take this opportunity to bless this entire New Thought Walden Awards Summit. I bless all of our honorees. I'm so grateful and thankful for their willingness to rise to the call of their life, for their willingness to face whatever challenges they have faced, whatever they had to endure and conquer in order to realize their fullness in this lifetime. And I know that simply by hearing them this day, they awaken, activate, and ignite all manner of good in every person hearing the words spoken this day. With absolute gratitude for these Walden Awards, I also take a moment to bless all our electronics, all our cell phones and iPads and computers and every gadget, knowing that they all function with ease and grace. And I'm grateful, so grateful for the way in which they allow us to join together from across all the miles. With gratitude, I allow it to be, saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
Beautifully spoken.
And so now it is, where are we going next? You want to do Ray Davis?
Yes.
Yes. That's Dr. Barbara Fields saying yes. Let's hear from Ray Davis. He'll be kicking things off with a song called The Average Man. Barbara, you want me to move forward?
Yes, please move forward.
Okay.
I'm having a little trouble bringing up that link.
Okay, if you get it and you want to jump in with it, just let us know. We're going to move forward into our first category, which is the New Thought Wisdom category. These honorees that we're about to introduce powerfully contribute to the understanding, practice, and meaningful expression of New Thought wisdom and principle in the world today. And our very first honoree is my teacher, Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. I am so grateful to have you here, and I want to tell the folks a little bit about you. So, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith speaks, whenever he speaks, he never fails to ignite the divine spark within whomever hears his words. In 1986, this gifted orator and New Thought minister founded the Agape International Spiritual Center, about to celebrate, I believe, its 32nd anniversary. It is now located in Beverly Hills, California. It is an independent, trans-denominational community. He has served as its spiritual director ever since. Agape is home to thousands and thousands of local members and live streams 4 services every single week to countless others all around the world. Dr. Beckwith is known for teaching meditation, affirmative prayer, and a process he originated called the life visioning process. He's addressed the United Nations, presented awards to Nelson Mandela, been on the Oprah Winfrey Show and done Super Soul Sundays. He's worked alongside the Dalai Lama and Mahatma Gandhi's grandson, Arun Gandhi. You've seen him in the 2006 film and book, The Secret, and on the cover of the January-February 2015 Unity magazine. He is also co-founder and president of the Association for Global New Thought. Welcome, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Thank you, Reverend Julie. Thank you, Reverend David. And since David is here, I have to say I had the privilege of being on the cover of the Science of Mind magazine as well quite recently.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing it. You are out in the world. You travel around the world all the time. You are known. You have books. You have products. You speak everywhere. What compels you to carry on? Because literally, you could be hanging out on a beach in Costa Rica. What is it that makes you, that compels you? Why must you carry on?
You know, a number of years ago, I had a very dramatic awakening. Mm-hmm. And I was given an assignment to be of service in this awakening that took a number of years to integrate. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather be doing nothing else. I think that in the Buddhist technology, there's something called bardos. And a bardo is described as a kind of a wasted incarnation, people sitting on the beach doing nothing. Mm. And so it's a definition of hell, actually. People just sitting on the beach doing nothing. And I think that being on the edge of one's evolution in terms of service and generosity and constantly being available to insights and revelations to serve is really heaven. It's really, and so I definitely take my time off, or I should take my time off, but I have no dreams of sitting on the beach wasting time, only to rest here and there. So what pulls me is the vision and the mission. I actually see the possibility of humanity evolving into a species where a kindness and love and generosity and unity is really the order of the day. Mm-hmm. Even though that doesn't square with what we see from time to time, I'm still pulled by that vision.
Beautiful. So let me ask you something. I know that your mama raised you with a strong sense of social activism and social consciousness, and there's a lot happening in our world today. I'm wondering, what is the role of the New Thought community? What must we do? What's our role now?
Our role is to basically frame what's happening on the planet. Mm-hmm. When we look out and we see the divisiveness politically, and we see so much that's going on in terms of juvenile partisan politics, sometimes that can obscure one's perception as to what's really going on. Anybody with any real vision can step back and see that there's an end of a paradigm happening right in front of us, and that the divine feminine is rising, that the mute button, as I've said recently, is off on women, regardless of Supreme Court nominations, there's something that's happened that can't be undone. And what has happened is this rising of a consciousness of unity and an inclusiveness of all people. So even though there are temporary battles that may seem as though they've been lost, there's something going on bigger than all of that. And I think it is our job to keep articulating that, pointing out the evidence of that, and inviting people to really go deeper into their practice so that they can see it, and asking a very important question: what is my role in the changes that are going on the planet right now? Everybody has a gift, everybody has a talent, everybody has something to give. So we're not here to be bystanders of some kind of inert evolution. We're to be joyful participants in our own evolution and in the evolution of a society. So I think it's our role as New Thought teachers to really articulate this and inspire and pull people into this dynamic. Some people have lost hope. Some people are obscured by partisan politics. And it's our job to not only pump hope, but to articulate a vision and then inspire people to find their place in that vision.
Beautiful. Yes. We got to stay upstairs.
We got to stay there, as Homer Johnson used to say.
Absolutely. And so you touched on this a little bit, but what's your sense of what's ready to emerge next for you? I mean, you've done so much. Where's the stretch? Where's the growing edge now?
I think that there's so many projects that I'm involved with right now that will birth itself. I mean, there's new books, there's some television opportunities that have emerged. I think basically touching more people, doing what I'm doing, but just touching more people in what I'm doing, and also giving a voice to an understanding of what's happening socially on the planet.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful you do what you do. I know it's absolutely changed and transformed my own life and countless others. So I thank you, and congratulations on being an honoree for the New Thought Wisdom. We're so pleased to have you here, and tell folks how they can find you.
It was my joy to receive this. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't trying to get an award, but whenever I receive an award, it just creates kind of a mandate to take whatever I'm doing to another level. So I receive it in that spirit.
Yes.
Agapelive.com, AGAPELIVE.com. Individuals can see the live stream of the services every Sunday, as well as participate in online classes and sign up for my meditation retreats and things of that particular nature. Agapelive.com.
And you have a class coming up in November that's online.
Yes, I do. Online. Strictly for people online, and we have a class strictly for people that are there in person. And so if they're in the LA area, they can come out. If they're not in the LA area, they can work with me online.
Well, thank you. And God bless you, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Thank you, Reverend Julie. Thank you, Reverend David. Thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Michael. What a joy and an honor. And our second honoree in this category, another giant in the New Thought movement, Reverend Rocco Errico, PhD, THD, is turning the Bible inside out, or perhaps right side out. The version of the good book most of us know is largely based on incorrect translations, he submits. When the Aramaic Peshitta, texts are interpreted correctly, Dr. Rocco claims the result frees us from 2,000 years of rigid orthodoxy and dogma based not on truth teachings, but on the politics and power struggles of another era, along with whisper down the lane mistakes made in those kinds of translations. Dr. Rocco's teachings of the Semitic context of language, culture, idioms, symbolism, mystical style, psychology, and literary amplification yield a more complete understanding. To this end, he established the nonprofit Nohara Foundation in 1970. He currently serves as Dean of Biblical Studies for the Barbara King School of Ministry at Hillside International Truth Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. Rocco was profiled in the November-December issue of Unity magazine and has been a longtime contributor to Science of Mind magazine. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Dr. Rocco Errico. Good evening. Could we invite you to unmute your microphone? There we are.
You got me?
We got you. How are you, sir?
Okay. Well, thank you. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you for it, David.
Well, bless you, and thank you for all you have done and all you continue to do. And what is current for you? What is your growing edge at the moment?
What is current for me right now?
Yes.
What I'm doing?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I got a whole new website up, and I am teaching the Aramaic language, the language of Jesus, online, and in fact, through Zoom, like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm teaching ministers and regular lay people, and they love it because the language itself, Aramaic, the language itself is very metaphysical. And most people don't realize that. We're so used to, when we pick up the Bible, we're wearing Sunday school glasses, eyeglasses, and we just read into it what we have always learned, and we never see the real depth of it. You have to go to the culture, to the language, and all that. It gives you a whole new insight. And as I said when I was being interviewed for Unity magazine, that I said, that new thought had to come. We just couldn't stay the way we were.
Mm-hmm.
Dogma, doctrine, only imprison us. New thought begins to free us. And people don't realize it, but the Bible itself is revolutionary and filled with new thought. Jesus himself was absolutely revolutionary. He was saying things contrary to what was holding people back. And so were the prophets and all the rest of them. But we can't see that because we're brought up in another dynamic that completely blinds us to it. And when you see it from the Aramaic point of view, like, for instance, we always think of God as a jealous God because that's what scriptures say. But in Aramaic, it's not jealous, it's zealous, passionate, not jealous. And that's clear. That clears a lot of things. And the term hellfire, all these things that we put fear in people, just like politics is using it today, they're using fear to bring division and hatred and separation. See, I love the way Dr. Michael referred to it as juvenile politics, which it really is. I've never seen the like of it since all the years that I've been here. And so we have an answer. New thought is on the cutting edge of spirituality and bringing people into a greater understanding of themselves. And we don't need someone over us. We need to awaken to that, what we really have within us. And this is what my work, this is what I do. I present the scriptures from that point of view, from language, from culture, as you already mentioned, but also showing it how it is practical for us every day. Jesus was very practical. He ignored dogma and the whole thing. He didn't bother to even explain God. He loved to use the term father. And father in Aramaic has nothing to do, I know we get upset over that in the West here. Why didn't he say mother too? Because in Aramaic, the term father and mother are terms of endearment. So when we say father, we're really saying beloved. It means the beloved spirit which abides in every human being, regardless of religious background. I don't care what background you are. You have that spirit within you. And this is what I teach everywhere. Well, but I bring it through scripture.
And that's extraordinary. And thank you for your continued writings in Science of Mind. And as we continue to do the research with the magazine, at the risk of sounding patronizing, yours is one of the most popular columns because you tend to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. I know as a minister, I fairly regularly am having conversations with people, helping build that bridge between the religion of origin for them and New Thought. And as part of that introduction, how would you engage in that conversation with somebody who is recovering from their religion of their childhood and just starting to look at New Thought? How would you help them build that bridge initially?
Well, I would help them understand, normally when a person begins to awaken to something more that is needed in their life, when they begin to awaken to it, they're really open and hungry. And whatever they want, I'll take them with whatever they ask me. I don't hold back anything. Years ago, I used to hold back because people couldn't take it. I don't care anymore. I just let it go. I just let it go completely now. Yeah, I'm 82 years old. How much longer am I going to be here? See?
Bless your heart, a long time. Many of us don't.
I don't care anymore. I just let it out. If people can't take it, fine, throw it out. See, I'm not here to convince, convert, or coerce. And those are the three things most religions use.
I love that. And tell us about your new website, sir. Where can people reach you? How can they find out more about your class in Aramaic and so many other of your offerings and writings?
Because, you know, they can always find me in the Science of Mind magazine. I write every month for it, but my website is, it's an Aramaic word. It's pronounced Nuhra, Noohra. That is an Aramaic word, and it means light, light. And I have free videos on there. I have plus interviews I've done on there. Everything is, people are welcome to go on and get what they can from it. And I teach something new every month. I put a brand new video up every month for about 15, 20 minutes because I know people don't have much time.
Excellent.
And I'm doing the 4 existential questions. Who are we? What are we? Where are we going? And what is our destiny?
That's perfect. And is that nura.com or .org?
Either one. We are really .org, but if you put .com, you'll get us. And as you get on the website, I have a little marker there that'll take you to the Facebook too.
Well, you are extraordinary, and thank you for saying yes. Thank you for your continued good work. And on behalf of all of us in the New Thought community, we look forward to hearing from you and being with you for many years to come.
Thank you. And I appreciate this award. It surprised me completely when I got the letter stating that I was voted in for this. Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Yes, we're so grateful to have you here. And so now we'll move forward with our next honoree in the area of New Thought wisdom, and that is Reverend Rita Marie Johnson. Reverend Rita Marie Johnson discovered a synergy between empathy and insight that boosts social, emotional, spiritual intelligence. It was inspired through her studies of nonviolent communication and heart math, which focuses on the heart-brain coherence. She developed the connection practice, which teaches how to communicate more effectively and compassionately. In 1997, Johnson founded the nonprofit Rasor Foundation, named for a mystical Costa Rican poem to teach the practice. This work garnered her the 2005 Ashoka Changemaker Innovation Award and the 2017 Light of God Expressing Award from Unity. Johnson, who served Unity first in Puerto Rico and then in Costa Rica, has now taught the practice around the world, including in the United Nations University for Peace and a graduate school for international leaders. While still serving as CEO of Rasor, Johnson is also currently the minister at Unity Spiritual Center in San Jose, California. And you can contact her at rasorinternational.org. That's RASUR international.org. Dr. Rita Marie, are you here?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Welcome, welcome. So grateful to have you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
So do you want to kick off with your video, or did you want to begin sharing first? How would you like to proceed?
I would like to share first and then show the video.
Okay.
So first of all, I just want to say how grateful I am to receive this award. My New Thought family has always been the wind beneath my wings. And I'm just so grateful. So I've always wanted to create a more peaceful world. So I went looking for a method to embody peace that could be taught to anyone. And I tried lots of methods, and I did find that nonviolent communication and heart math were the ones that impressed me most. And then one day I had the aha that resulted in the connection practice. So Barbara's going to pull up a slide so I can give you just a picture of what the connection practice is. See on the horizontal line that the language of feelings and needs is the fast track to empathy. And on the vertical line, the path from the heart to the brain is the fast track to insight. So my aha was about combining them. We can take the slide down now. And I found that when I combined empathy and insight, there was this synergy that quickened the evolution of my consciousness. Now, we also know these two strengths as wisdom and compassion. And I found when I united them to resolve a challenge that I became completely connected. And I experienced that as a peaceful feeling of being heard and supported and lifted. So really, the connection practice is the profound made practical. Now, we know it works for people of all ages, but it's the children that we most want to reach. And we've taught the connection practice to over 40,000 Costa Rican students. And that's what led to teaching it as a graduate course at the United Nations University for Peace. So now we are in the midst of a new project. We created a magnetic board that looks like this to teach the connection practice. And I displayed these boards at a student mental wellness conference. And my booth there was getting the most action. So this psychologist came over to see why that was happening. And I showed him how to use the connection practice board with a child who'd been bullied. And then I told him about the science that explains why the connection practice works so well. And he got really excited. He said, we are overwhelmed with the many students that are at risk because we don't have enough counselors. But if we taught students this self-therapy, he called it, it's so empowering, we wouldn't need all those counselors. So we know from trying this for many years that these tactile boards are the fastest way to get us from being reactive to being resourceful. And so we envision the connection practice being as much a part of school as reading, writing, and math.
Oh, that's so profound. That's so profound. Thank you. I want you to know we will hold that vision for you as well. That's so necessary and timely to give our youth these kinds of skills. Thank you so much. For all those that have been inspired, just like myself hearing this, how can people get in touch with you and find out more, become involved?
Well, our next step is to get these boards with video instruction out to the world. And so we want to deliver this connection practice to the children of the world. So if you can go to connectionpractice.org or write me at info@connectionpractice.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing the work you're doing. And it's such an honor to meet you and have you here and acknowledge the good work, the necessary work you're doing in the world. We're so grateful for you being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm very honored. Thank you for hearing my passion.
That's Reverend Rita Marie Johnson. Thank you so much.
And our next honoree.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Visser, and I'm a conflict resolution practitioner and educator. I first met Rita Marie over 10 years ago. I saw her speak, and it was as if a lightning bolt struck inside me. It all came together in a way that just made sense. And after that, I became formally trained in the connection practice and also read her book, and now I am able to use this with children and adults. So when I'm working with children, they just get it. It happens quickly. They understand what we're doing here. They can actually pick up the part about the language, the feelings and needs very rapidly. And particularly with the coherence, it's almost like they're all naturals. So they can easily move into a state of heart-brain coherence and easily access the wisdom in their own hearts. I don't know of any other practice that is so efficient, that can happen in less than 10 minutes, and is so effective.
I think that the connection practice helped me to understand people's viewpoints more. I feel like I'm more open-minded now that I know. It just felt simple and it felt good to do it with other classmates and all. So I think this is a really great tool to use, especially if you're going through a rough time.
It kind of almost enlightened me. It made me feel like, oh, okay, so I'm not alone and there are other people who understand that kind of thing.
If people at my school knew about this, then they would see things differently and feel differently about what they're saying and what they're wishing upon other people.
That's beautiful. I'm glad we were able to show that. Thank you so much for giving us that clip. And now we can move forward. Dr. David.
Yes, thank you. Our next honoree is Bishop Barbara Lewis King, Doctor of Ministry. In 2010, Bishop Barbara became the first New Thought minister consecrated as a bishop. By then, she'd served nearly 50 years as a leader of Hillside International Truth Center in Atlanta, which started as a prayer group of 12 in her living room. Her ministry began at age 13, teaching Sunday school, although she was a social work administrator and a dean at 2 colleges before becoming ordained and eventually opening her own ministry school. Her leadership extends across continents. In 1994, Dr. King became the first New Thought minister in South Africa when Hillside established a sister church there. And in 2001, she was named the first female chief of the Asa Nusra tribe in Ghana. King's work as an activist is legendary. Look for her footprint in Atlanta's International Civil Rights Walk of Fame. Unity also honored her in 2009 with the Light of God Expressing Award in Society. Her ministry, the essential tenets of her ministry, include oneness, unity, and the connectedness of all of life. Please join me in welcoming activist, minister, and New Thought legend, Bishop Dr. King. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We'll have you unmuted momentarily. There we are. Bishop King, welcome.
Oh, yes, I just want to say thank you. I'm so honored to have been selected to be a part of this wonderful experience. Thank you, Association of Global New Thought and the Center for Spiritual Living.
Well, it's our joy and our honor. Thank you for your continued good work. Tell me about your call to ministry when you were 12 years old. We're having a bit of a challenge. I think you're muted again. Is that something on our end, Barbara?
No, I'm trying to unmute, but I think she's pressing the button at the same time.
Ah, okay.
Hold on.
The joys of live broadcast.
Okay, she should go ahead. She's unmuted from our end.
Bishop King, are we on now?
I think, well, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can. I was just asking you about your call to ministry when you were 12 years old.
Yeah, actually, I was 13, and I said to my minister, I want to be a minister. He immediately told me that that was impossible because there were no women ministers in the Baptist church. And I really didn't understand it, but I accepted it at that moment.
And how did you continue on that path?
Well, I went on to school and later got my bachelor's in science from Texas Southern University, got my college degree. And I left there and I came here to Atlanta University and got a master's degree. Now, all along the way, I was ministering, but I didn't understand it as that. I mean, when I was in the hospital for 4 years, I was ministering to other patients. I spoke for Women's Day programs. I was all over the place. I did everything but go into the pulpit. So when I got to Chicago to work after getting my master's, I met the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. And she really tutored me and kept me by her side. And it was through her that I knew that I could launch a ministry. I tell the story all the time. I was in our office crying about they wouldn't let me be a pastor, and I went to just a long dissertation about it. And she turned around and she said, "Barbara, what's stopping you?" And at that moment, I realized nobody was stopping me but me. So from that moment on, being by her side and working with her, I began to open up and realize I could actually have my own ministry. So when I moved to Atlanta, I got a job as director of a mental health center. I was dean of students at Spelman. And finally, I realized it was time to begin my ministry. So at the age of 40, right here in Atlanta, I began meeting with people in my living room using the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And so with that began the ministry. And one night I had 60-some people in my home. And I found out in Atlanta, people were looking for something new, something exciting, something they could relate to. And so then I began Hillside Chapel and Truth Center, 1971, in my living room.
Well, bless you for your foresight and your vision. Having spent so many decades in ministry, whether officially or unofficially, speak to us about what's calling your heart now. Where are you in your ministerial journey?
Well, you know, I call my preaching conversational preaching. My very good friend, Maya Angelou, once said, people will forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they won't forget how you made them feel. So to me, preaching for me is a conversation with the members and with the friends. It's my heart. That's where I really come from. The intellect does its part, but it's my heart because I love what I'm doing. I love them. And I've also learned that whatever I'm teaching, it's also coming to me first. So my passion is to really give my heart and to tell stories. I think that sometimes in the ministry, we don't like to tell about our experiences, but I tell about my experiences, and it always touches somebody's life and the audience. Have somebody know, even though you're the minister, you have come through some experiences yourself. And that's why I'm in love with the butterfly. Everything you see about me will say butterfly, because from that dark cocoon, I came into the light. And I want people to know they don't have to suffer. You can suffer, you can be the best that you can be. So when I give my heart, I'm giving my soul, I'm giving my everything to let them know it really can be done.
Extraordinary. Thank you for continuing to share that powerful message. Bishop King, how can people connect with you? How can they access more of your work?
Well, I have a website. My email address is Dr. King at hillsidechapel.org. And I'm on the Facebook, I'm on YouTube, I'm all over the place. Many people tell me they see me in that manner. But right here at the ministry at the church, you can reach me. My email is king8990@bellsouth.net. And I tell you, the exciting thing is that when they stream our services, we have people from all over the world. And it just makes you realize that, you know, social media has been so good for reaching out to people. And so I am just so happy, even for this opportunity. I'm sure there are a lot of people listening, and to have this honor to be able to speak to the world is just exciting.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you have much to say, and it's our joy and our honor to offer a platform to share your continued good work. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
And you as well.
Thank you so much. And David, we're going to roll right into the first co-host. So if you want to go ahead and do the introductions.
Happy to do that. We now invite internationally known teacher and founder director of Agape International Spiritual Center, Agape International Spiritual Center, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who shared with it just a bit earlier. And now Dr. Michael present the honorees in the care and reverence of the earth category. These honorees have demonstrated exemplary contribution within New Thought.
She could not see you.
You can see me.
Understanding, practice,
I mean,
expression of care and reverence for the earth.
I don't know.
Because we didn't see
Welcome
you.
back,
We couldn't see
Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Thank you, David. I think someone's still unmuted. I think Dr. King.
Ask Dr. Barbara King to turn her volume off.
I'm not able to do that. She should leave the meeting because the problem's on their end.
Okay.
Dr. King, if you would be kind enough to leave the Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Not that we don't adore you, but we're having some technical challenges.
We can't see you anymore.
Yes, can you exit?
Yeah, because we can't even see you anymore. You're not going now. I don't know what to tell.
Dr. Barbara, we're having some technical difficulties, so if you could get off of the Zoom call now, if you could exit, we'd appreciate it. Okay?
Now I see you.
Thank you. Can you mute yourself?
There we go.
Awesome.
Peace and blessings, everyone. As David indicated, we're working with individuals who are under the category of the care and reverence for the earth. Individuals who have taken upon themselves to not only understand that the sacredness of the earth, but to absolutely do what is necessary to protect the earth, to lift consciousness around our sacred planet, and to basically give their whole life towards the betterment of humanity by taking care of our planet. We're going to begin with Pandway Gibson, PhD. And I see her name on the screen. Here she comes. And there she is. Let me just read a little bit about her. It is easy being green, and she's committed to making it easy and profitable for as many others as possible. In 2008, Gibson launched Ecotech Visions, an incubator for eco-friendly manufacturing startups in Miami, Florida, calling on her expertise in green technology and energy production. With 5 college degrees, including Harvard and MIT in business development and organizational growth, she was well prepared for this venture. Ecotech provides co-working space and equipment to its ecopreneurs, assisting them in launching, funding, and growing innovative green manufacturing businesses. Currently, Ecotech has 26 client companies producing products like electric motorcycles and compostable cutlery made from potatoes. Ecotech also offers training programs such as coding boot camps, green manufacturing internships, with an eye towards building a potential workforce for their clients. You can visit ecotechvisions.com to see what I'm talking about. Padway, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, everybody.
5 degrees? You look like a baby. MIT, Harvard? Let me ask you, what motivated you to move into this area of life? This really, you're developing ecopreneurs. You are really allowing not only sustainability to emerge, but a blissful footprint on the planet. What is your passion? How did you get pulled into this?
Well, I am the granddaughter of the first Black regional director of the IRS for the Midwest region. And my grandmother worked on the Manhattan Project, which is the founding of atomic energy, along with her sister, my aunt. And they did this in the 1950s and 60s as women of African descent. And they, basically every time I look up at the lights, I think about them and I realize like I've done nothing yet to compare. My great aunt used to make the best rolls on the planet, and she also played the harp. So I have a long way to go to compete with the legacy and the foundation that they laid for me. And I'm just blessed to stand on the shoulders of giants.
Outstanding. You come from a very powerful ancestry legacy, and that's what's pulling you. What's next for you? What's emerging right now? What's your cutting edge? You've already done so much.
Oh, thank you. So you see the mural behind me?
Yes.
This mural is an AR mural, so it comes to life if you put your phone up to it. It's kind of like the Pokemon Go framework, where it has Easter eggs that you can launch into that speak to the issues that occur around climate change and sea level rise. They'll show you the resources that you can take advantage of in our community. And what's next for us is replication. So our goal is to grow throughout the Southeast and the Midwest region. There are not a lot of spaces for innovation to take place in this country outside of university frameworks, specifically close to the root problem. So I'm in Miami, which is ground zero for sea level rise.
Yes.
And we are the first maker incubator that provides support for entrepreneurs who want to work in the space. And so we really want to replicate this model throughout our region. We have interest in some of the Caribbean islands, and again, throughout the Southeast and the Midwest, so that people really can do what they do best, what my ancestors did, what most of our ancestors came to America to do, which is to innovate, to create, to ignite our imagination, but towards something that is critical to sustain not just humanity, but life on this planet. And so ecotech is really a space for that. Like, you can walk around and you see people like creating AR murals, or making utensils out of potato, the compostable cutlery, or doing living wall installations and things like that. So I just think humans naturally come up with these amazing solutions, and I'm privileged to be in an environment where I get to watch that happen every day.
Beautiful. You have a lot of light, a lot of spark in you. And I know that you're on the cutting edge of knowing some of the things that are very treacherous for us as human beings, some of the things we're facing with the climate change and the rising of the waters. How do you stay so affirmative with all the things that you know real science, you don't, and you know exactly what's going on the planet in terms of the climate change and sea levels rising? How do you maintain such a positive energy?
Well, we here believe that there's possible to create an oxygen surplus planet the same way we created a carbon surplus planet. And I think that there's really simple metrics for how to make that happen. I also really am consciously aware of what saved the whales. So I don't know if people are aware, but in the late 1800s, early 1900s, whales were going extinct all around the world. And there were the educators who tried to educate people to save them. That didn't work. There were the governments and advocates who tried to create laws to legislate to fix the problem. That didn't work. There were the activists who tried to protest and bully people into caring about the problem, and that didn't work. But what really created an opportunity for us to still experience these majestic mammals was innovators, right? So you had Thomas Edison develop the incandescent light bulb. And then you had Lewis Latimer develop the filament that made the light bulb the sustainable element that it is today that we can illuminate our homes with. And so at some point we decided we didn't need whale oil to light our homes anymore, because that's why we were killing the whales. We were engaging in the new world and we wanted to light our homes, and we didn't need them anymore because of innovation. And so I really think it's our nature to create problems and solve them, and it's just really fun. I think that's what we do as humans, right? We create problems, and then we come up with solutions, and then we create problems and come up with solutions, and we get to iterate and evolve as a species into creating a world of divine order.
Right. So you see the issues, but you also know there's solutions to every issues. And
Exactly.
I hear you talking about evolution. So you know that our next stage of evolution handles the problem at this stage.
Mhm.
So there
And
you
when
go.
we're oxygen surplus, there'll be another problem then. There'll be some issue with like overgrowth, and we'll have to solve that also. I'm not suggesting it's the solution. I'm suggesting it is a new iteration of problems that we can
Absolutely.
create for ourselves.
You're such a source of inspiration. I want to thank you so much for being here. And I know people are just clamoring to figure out how they can get on board with what you're doing and find out more. Can
That's
you let us
exactly what I
know?
was about to ask.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself. What's your website?
Ecotechvisions.com, ECOTECH, visions with an S.com. You can also find out about our symposium, farmersinthegarden.com, farmers with an S, garden with no S.com. We have weekly farmer symposium workshops ranging from blockchain and technology all the way to Reiki and yoga and fitness and wellness classes. We really believe that all of these communities of innovators gets to be merged. And that's what we do here. So ecotechvisions.com.
Thank you so much, and congratulations on receiving this award. Obviously, you are well deserved of this. Keep on doing the work.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that all of you all are like my idols. I'm like really excited to be sitting here with you all. I was telling a friend of mine that I've gotten a couple awards, and to me, this one means so much because it was an honor given to me by the people who set the spiritual tone for my life.
Wow.
That just means so much. So thank you for the work that you all do. And thank you for holding the vision for humanity and for our planet.
Thank you so much. And you're right there with us. Thank you. Our next honoree, Elena Lee, started a reforestation project in 2009 to benefit Brazil's Atlantic forests, one of the world's 5 most important biodiversity hotspots, of which only 7% remained. She crowdfunds donations to buy native species trees for small local organic reforestation projects. She also works with a Brazilian agroforestry training center to ensure environmental entrepreneurs can keep the effort alive. Agape has also aided her in her fundraising efforts over the years. She was born in the very rainforest she's helping to save. Leah moved to the United States when she was a baby. Her background includes landscape, design, and horticulture in both Puerto Rico and the United States. Lee's art and unusual integration of watercolor, photography, and text, giving facts about rainforest habitat, has been exhibited at the Smithsonian and the Museum of Natural History. How you doing there, Elena Lee? You have to unmute yourself.
There we go.
Beautiful. Welcome and congratulations on receiving this Walden Award. You very much deserved.
Thank you. I'm extremely grateful. This means a great deal to me because it's the merging of my spiritual practice, my activism, and my gardening. So it's the best when all these worlds come together.
Right. Now, how did you get involved in this? I know you were born in the rainforest, but was it the urgency of the disappearance of the rainforest, or what is it that ignited this passion that you have? Because you've planted a lot of trees.
Well, we've done 6,000 trees, which compared to some projects is a very small number, but it's the way our trees were planted, the way people were respected and honored, and the trees were taken care of that was the priority for me. And the way I got involved with doing this was going through a period of tremendous personal loss. The landscape of my life felt degraded after a divorce and an empty nest and a short sale of my home. And I really turned to my spiritual practice and prayer work, and that was when I started to really follow your work as well, to just ask for what was next. And what emerged for me was to go back to Brazil, to learn about where I was born, and see if there was a way that I could apply my skills as a horticulturist, as an artist, to help restore that forest. And when I went back for the first time in 2008, I began just following one person, one town, one conversation at a time. And the project grew itself until eventually it became the I Give Trees project, and then has a nonprofit fiscal sponsor. And we won an award from the French Ministry of Environment for being a citizen initiative that mitigates the effects of global warming. So it totally grew from the prayer work and asking to be used, that the skills that I had could somehow be useful.
Outstanding. So out of that seeming darkness and loss, you asked to be an instrument of service.
Yeah.
And that lifted you from a sense of depression, a sense of isolation, into generosity, into finding your particular gift, your particular voice. Because not only do you plant trees, you raise consciousness, and you share valuable information to citizens about what's happening on the planet and what's happening with the rainforest, what's happening with our earth. You travel around the world and are a part of major conferences in which you're expanding awareness. So out of that seeming loss, you become a whole nother being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love my life now. I am so grateful to be who I am, who I've become through these years. You know, it's been a decade now of being engaged in this. And I never would have imagined what I'm doing now. I never would have imagined what was possible before. I've developed relationships with the former French Minister of Agriculture and the organization he founded. So I'm on my way to France next week to work with him and his team in preparation for the next climate change conference in Poland. And in France, they call me la pollinisatrice, the pollinator, because it turns out that I'm really gifted at bringing people together from different organizations to collaborate in ways that they hadn't seen themselves. And so that's my joy. I didn't know it until I got named it. And that's the biggest part. You know, that is the greatest joy in my life right now, to be the pollinator.
You're a hell of a networker.
Yeah.
That is extraordinary.
You bring people to Agape a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I stream no matter where I am. I'm always streaming.
Pravia, and how can our friends, our people around the world who are tuning in, how can people connect with you, dear one?
You can go to the website, igivetrees.com, and you'll be able to see what we've accomplished in Brazil. There are other links on that page that talk about my public speaking and work with the climate change conferences. And if people would like to receive an ebook that has a bit more background than I was able to share about this process, the spiritual process of emergence, you can send an email to igivetrees@gmail.com and just mention Walden, and I'll send that to you.
Well, bless you, and thank you for your extraordinary work across the continents.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Sunday, Rev.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Our next awardee, Echo Troubadour, Stan Slaughter. He makes compost catchy. The folk rock singer, songwriter, teaches kids and adults about composting and recycling, sharing simple changes we can all make now, right now, to live in harmony with our planet. He doesn't stop at just singing. He also produces posters, study guides, a composting card game, and CDs with titles such as Rot, Enroll. He has performed for more than 400,000 people in 27 states and was once invited by Prince Charles to speak on composting at the Royal Gardens at Highgrove. In 1995, he became the first Missouri Environmental Educator of the Year, and in 2000 was named the nation's best compost educator. He sings in a trio called Green Spirit Band at New Thought churches and environmental events, and is a longtime member of the Unity Village Chapel music team. And today he's receiving the Walden Awards. Mr. Slaughter, how are you?
Oh, Reverend Michael, how are you?
Outstanding, Stan. And you're inspiring, you're healing, you're singing, you're bringing this powerful idea to young folks and adults. What pulled you? What is your passion? What pulled you to get to this kind of generosity?
Well, first of all, I'm very humble to be here, very honored. And I'm from a long line of farmers and teachers. And I grew up on a 200-acre farm, kind of like Mowgli. I was the jungle boy, and had so much immersion in nature as a child that that I kind of got it in a way that most people don't have a chance to do in their lives. And so I have a chance to help people align the human system with God and nature's systems. My master's in biology and my years, I had ninth graders for 9 years. It was a tough crowd. You had to be pretty innovative and pretty exciting to be listened to. And my goal is what I call organic literacy, that we understand how we're connected in our lives. And the research today is talking about the microbiome, those little critters that do so much for us in our gut and in the soil.
Right.
And we're very closely related. It's been called the biggest revolution since we learned that the earth went around the sun. And that's part of the message I gave to Prince Charles and his audience out there in England. And it's an honor to do it. It's kind of, there's a little bit of ugh factor with composting, but just like the lotus, it's got a root in the mud before you get the flower. Half of life is the dark side of life, yes. The decomposition, preparation for the brilliance of life.
Yes. What's next for you? What do you see as your next horizon?
Well, about 18 months ago, I joined a company called Missouri Organic. It's the largest compost manufacturer in the Midwest. And I'm teaching kids about recycling, composting food waste at schools. I'm speaking all over the region. And recently we're producing a poster, another poster, a poster on food waste. And it's an interactive poster that whenever you move across one of the features, it pops up. You get text and you get links to do that. We're testing right now compost applied to lawns to see how quickly and how well it will cut down on stormwater runoff, will eliminate the need for fertilizers and pesticides, give us cleaner water, and help us change our climate. So we hope to be applying compost over a large area of the Kansas City metro soon.
Outstanding. Is there any major challenge that you're facing right now that you're seeking to overcome that we can hold for you?
Thank you. That's an interesting thought. I think it's probably something that prayer alone needs to deal with. Just the prayer for alignment with the way nature works, the way we need to move our human systems into reality, the reality of the way the world is manufactured and the mystery of God's creation.
Like kind of like biomimicry, I imagine.
Absolutely. Good point.
We will absolutely hold that for you, Stan. Thank you so much for your extraordinary work. And how can people connect with you, sir?
StanSlaughter.com and MissouriOrganic.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us, and thank you for your powerful ministry.
You're welcome. It's my honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Stan. We go to our next honoree. Callie Holmes Sorensen has been a leader in environmental action and women's empowerment for more than 2 decades. She teaches that an awakened reverence for our earth activates evolutionary change that is the heart and the instigator of compassion and action, must be where all sacred activism begins. She's an inspirational speaker and a retreat facilitator who also leads a variety of spiritual ceremonies and rituals. A midwife of feminine consciousness, she has founded several women's groups, including Seaside Sisters at Seaside Center for Spiritual Living in Encinitas, California. She annually recognizes sacred activists in her community with the Seaside Sisters Awaken Women Award. You can visit seasidecenter.org/Seaside Sisters Women's Group. She will give you that information again. Hey, young lady, how are you?
Hey, Michael, I'm good. How are you?
Everything is wonderful. 2 decades, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it started with AG&T and Centers for Spiritual Living. So that's been a long time.
I know, it's over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so your motivation came out of your spiritual practice.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I've never been more on task as where I am now.
Really?
Yeah, this is the deepest spiritual path. I think when we move from me to we, definitely divinely inspired.
What's next for you? You've established women's groups. You're really honoring the activists on our planet, and obviously, you know, the women are up right now. They're not going to be put back.
Well, you know, the focus of Seaside Sisters, which is very much a grassroots women's group, is sacred activism and spiritual ecology, and this is expressed in many multidimensional ways. But it's about reawakening the reverence for the earth. And I think that there's a growing sisterhood of women that are stepping into their power to transform the world. And when women rise, all of humanity is lifted.
Yes.
We are the givers and the keepers of life, and we fiercely protect what we love.
Yes.
So my calling, my spiritual calling that is mine to do, is to awaken that reverence within women, because I feel like women need to take the lead. The divine feminine that you mentioned earlier, Michael, is deeply connected to Gaia. And this is why I truly believe that women must take the lead with caring for the earth. But we need to do it from a place of love combined with heart-inspired action. And the heart is the instigator of compassion and action, and must be where all sacred activism comes from, motivated from a place of love, not fear. And when we listen to our heart, that's the place to go, because when we listen to our mind, all we see is all the environmental problems.
Yes.
But when we listen to our heart, we feel the solution. And the holiness, the Dalai Lama says, a positive future cannot emerge from a mind of anger or despair.
That's right.
So I would say part of my spiritual path is, and we know in New Thought, is that the words and language that we use and the energy behind them are so powerful. And we need to change what the dominant narrative is right now, away from fighting.
Yes.
Spiritual activism is an action for the benefit of something,
yes,
not against something.
Yes.
And when it comes to environmental issues and climate change, it's all about fight and against. So one of the most powerful things that I think we can do right now is to change the world, is to actively nurture and cultivate our own sense of hope and grounded optimism, which you also spoke of earlier. And to affect change with regard to environmental challenges, we need to keep believing and knowing that we can, with the power of directed intention, because it's a big, big thing.
Yes.
It's big. And I had this profound realization that whatever our passion is, or our purpose, or our sacred path calls us to do, we must also address climate change, because that's the giant container that undergirds all the other challenges. And that awareness for me changed everything.
Outstanding.
So if we speak about violence, we need to speak of how we are violating the earth. And when we speak of rape and abuse, we must also speak of how we rape and abuse the earth. And when we speak of politics, which is happening a lot right now, we must speak to the actions our government must take toward a more sustainable and socially and just, starting with our own communities. And that's where my mission is, right here in my own community.
Mm. Well, we honor you, and thank you for being a recipient of this award. How can people find out more about you?
Well, first of all, I want to just say I am so honored and deeply grateful for this award. You know, for those of us taking a stand for the earth, we don't often see our immediate results or our outward manifestations of our work. So this being recognized in this way definitely inspires me to keep on going and serving the vision for what's really possible. So what's next for me is Spirit has called me to offer the Seaside Sisters SMART Symposium, which will be November 3rd at Seaside from 1 to 4. And it's an acronym that stands for Spiritually Motivated Activism for Resilient Transformation. Mm. And based on what our political, the elections coming up, we really wanted to shift the energy So there's a collective of fiercely passionate women coming together to inspire, inform, and activate people in our community to lift the energy away from the fear and to get to a new narrative focused on really what's possible and moving from the challenges to change, and very much a grassroots movement. And it begins with each of us.
Thank you. Give us your website. Give us your website right quick.
The best place to get me is Seaside Sisters Women's Group Facebook page. And my email is seasidesisters4change, the number 4, at gmail.com. And also for Seaside Center.
Thank you so much. God bless you in your work. I appreciate your energy and your intentional, more than optimism.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, David and Julie, too.
David and Julie?
It's our joy and honor, Callie. Thank you for your tremendous cosmic yes.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much, Reverend Michael, for...
Wait, we got one more. Hold on.
Yep. I have to mention one more person, even though he could not be with us today. Yes. He deserves a great mention. Shutheskat is an indigenous climate activist, hip-hop artist, and the youth director of Earth Guardians, a worldwide organization for young people fighting climate change. He's also only 18 years young, raised with his mother's passion for activism and his father's Aztec tradition. He grew up seeing the earth as sacred. He began speaking publicly at 6 years old, taking action at 9 to ban pesticides in Boulder, Colorado parks. He's since appeared in front of the Congress, Global Climate Summits, United Nations 4 different times. He's also a part of a youth-led lawsuit against the federal government for failing to protect the atmosphere for future generations. That case is on trial right now. He's a classically trained pianist, now uses hip hop to inspire change. You can catch his new album and support this artist. The album is called Break Free. Visit, I'm going to spell it, XIUHTEZCATL.com. 18 years young, powerful work where climate change is concerned, hip hop artist, speaker. Thank you. Even though you couldn't be with us today, feel our love. We're with you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Reverend Michael, for being here. We really appreciate your presence. We want to give love to all the honorees in this category. We're so grateful that you were able to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David and Julie, for the great work you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Michael.
Let's just take a breath, kind of take in everything you've seen, all the different folks you've heard right now, and maybe as this beautiful selection from extraordinary singer-guitarist Ariel begins to play, that looks like Ray Davis. There's Ariel. Hey, Ariel. Just find out what's ready to open up in your heart. This is Walden Award honoree Ariel.
Hey guys, I'm Ariel, and this is my original song called A Love That Never Dies. I can feel your heartbeat, steady as the world turns. I can hear you calling me back home. Love to watch the wind blow through your hair like soft hands. You're a fallen angel, visiting Earth again. We are finite here, temporary sparks, meteorites someday. And when our wells run dry, maybe all that we can leave behind is our ashes in the sky, and love that never dies. And we'll sit under the oak tree, older than we could be. Love you infinitely, like I've never known, and we'll dance within my closed eyes, feel your warmth inside mine, watch the planets align, feel you. We are finite here, temporary sparks, meteorites in the night. And when our wells run dry, maybe all that we can leave behind is our ashes in the sky, and a love that never dies.
Wow, absolutely beautiful, Ariel. Thank you. Thank you for choosing to share your gift. And thank you for saying yes to your first Walden Award. We appreciate it so very much. And now it's my pleasure to call forward Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, who will be sharing the honorees in the category of interfaith and intercultural understanding. Dr. Ken is the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living in Golden, Colorado. He just celebrated his 25th anniversary as the founder and co-pastor of the Center for Spiritual Living in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. Welcome, Dr. Ken. Thank you for sharing part of your evening with us.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it immensely. These awards really are going to people in the category of interfaith and intercultural understanding. And that's the care and reverence of the Earth Award, nominated for exemplary contribution by a person within the New Thought community to the understanding, practice, and meaningful expression of care and reverence to the earth and its sustainability in the world today. And the first honoree that we have up today is a beautiful young minister from Unity called Reverend Kelly Isola, and she grew up and around the globe, exposed to other cultures and religions and their inherent oneness. At a young age, she's now involved with several social justice organizations in Kansas City, Missouri, and is chair of the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council, which brings together leaders from 22 different faiths. As a consultant, Isola specializes in the spiritual practice of conflict transformation, using conflict coaching, meditation, spiritual direction, polarity thinking, nonviolent communication, and diversity training, as well as leadership and organizational development skill building. As a Unity minister, Kelly creates transformative retreats, rituals, ceremonies, and alternative services using music, storytelling, laughter, tears, and meditation as catalysts for spiritual transformation. She's also a faculty member for the Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute and one of the Unity magazine Faith Matters columnists. So I welcome today Reverend Kelly Isola.
Thank you. I was smiling as you were reading. I'm like, wow, she sounds fabulous.
Well,
and I really like the young part.
Well, I love the young part. Young is about 3 times in your introduction, so I like it. So I'm willing to support that no matter what it looks like or how it looks.
Exactly, ditto.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've had just an absolutely fascinating past. You've been around the world. You've seen a lot of different things. Where does your passion? What was the seed of the passion that burst out of you?
Actually, it's my dad was a pilot, and he sometimes we moved overseas. Very often, he would work and bring something back. And it really started with a doll collection when I was really young, like 6, maybe 5 or 6. And when he would go somewhere, and the very first doll I got from my doll collection came from China. And so he would bring dolls back, and eventually Coke bottles. And some of the Coke bottles were written in other languages. And that started very young. And then when we moved to places like to Saudi Arabia, like to England, visiting places like Afghanistan. And then over time, as I got older, spending time in Kenya, and it started very young. And actually one of the most pivotal moments for me was when we were living in Saudi Arabia. I was about 12 or 13, and we lived on a compound just outside of Jeddah where Americans and Europeans lived, separate from Saudi citizens. And we were driving from Jeddah back to where we lived, and we got stuck in a traffic jam because there was a beheading going on in a town square. So all the traffic had come to a stop. And what I later learned was that there was this beheading because this Muslim woman had committed adultery. And so that prompted a whole conversation with my parents, and just really shifted, what I realized, what I thought I knew about Islam, I didn't know that not all of Islam, that wasn't Islam, that moment, that beheading. And it just really kept going from there. And I just, believing that every person has a connection to ultimate reality, whatever you call it, whether it's even an atheist, an agnostic, there's an element of belief, of values, of a higher self, something that draws you out and draws you forward and encourages you and inspires you to be with humanity in whatever capacity that is. I love following the sacred activism because for me, interfaith work is sacred activism. I'm very active that interfaith work and interspiritual, or the words we use is finding the differences in our worldviews, our faith, our religion, our life philosophy, and celebrating those, not just the common ground. I've actually thrown out of my vocabulary the word like-minded because it gets to be too homogenous. And I don't really want homogenous world. I celebrate.
Thank you, Kelly. That's magnificent. And your connection really comes from this wide range that you get to see society from right now. So yeah. What really brings you into this type of work? When obviously you've had a great connection with the Muslim community, which is fantastic. And so what is it that moves you in this direction? What's your spark?
My spark is that my value, or if you want to say my religion or my highest value, is the value of belonging. One of my favorite quotes comes from Mother Teresa that says, if we have no peace, it's because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. And so it's the sense of belonging that regardless of, there is an underlying element of, that I belong with you, you belong with me, I belong to Earth, we belong to Earth. Within pretty much every faith, tradition, religion, life philosophy, there is this element of caring for each other, an experience with ultimate reality, knowing the numinous, experiencing the mystery, and taking that individual interior experience and carrying it outward to care for each other.
Well, thank you so much. And we're so honored to have you present and participating here. It's important that you know that you're loved and that you're honored, and that this is a great thing to have you doing this out in the world and participating in this idea of connection with the rest of the world. So
I stand on great shoulders.
Yes, you do.
And Kelly, how can people get in touch with you to learn more about your work?
The easiest way is go to my website, which is kellyisola.com.
You are outstanding. Thank you for your yes.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled, I'm honored, and very appreciative.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate you. And our next honoree that's coming up for under this particular title and this particular layout is Dr. Barbara Leger from the Temenos Society out of Ukraine. Pardon, I didn't do that right. And so let me just dig up what I need to know about here. And Dr. Barbara is the founder and spiritual guide of the Temenos Center for Spiritual Living North America and of the Temenos Center for Self-Realization Ukraine. She founded the Ukraine Center in 2001, focusing on spiritual education and expanding consciousness with a special emphasis on youth. She spent the next 17 years guiding its growth and handing over the leadership. Today, 12 practitioners carry out the center's work for Centers for Spiritual Living in Cherkasy, with an additional practitioners leading groups in Kiev, Crimea, and Russia. Barbara, a Canadian, recently returned to the United States full-time to continue her work speaking, consulting, and teaching workshops for Centers for Spiritual Living communities and other groups. Before becoming a Science of Mind minister, Leger was an international business and marketing consultant whose experiences working abroad opened her eyes to the deeper meaning of conscious partnership. And you can visit her at temenoscsl.org. Dr. Barbara, you and I know each other very, very well. I was in Temenos with you. And I will tell you, and I will tell everyone out there, that the work that you are doing is just magnificent. The awakening of the humanity that I saw in your center in comparison to what I saw in the society that surrounded it was astronomical. They were alive, they were alert, they were awake, they were filled with light. How did you find your way to do that?
I think I followed the energy that's been pulling me around since I was a wee one. You know, just following what mattered to me. And the very long story made very short is when my daughter was 7 and I was a reentry student in college after a major back injury and losing everything in my life except my children, I did a radio show called The Good News Show, and I just see that my battery says it's low. Goodness gracious, what is going on?
I don't know. Come back.
I am. Come back. I just want to get the battery going. So I was doing a radio program on peace, because peace has always been it's always pulled me. I'm a child of pioneer ancestry. I grew up in the pioneer home. I have that in my DNA. And I was asking everybody what peace was, and my daughter was 7. And she says, "Oh, you know, Mom, peace begins within." And I went, "Wow, yeah, how cool is that?" You know. And then a couple years later, when we thought the world was going to hell in a nuclear war, my son showed up in my door as white as a ghost. And he said, "Am I going to live long enough to go to college?" And I realized that in that moment, my life had to be about the solution, because if it wasn't, it was about the problem. And so I quit my regular work. I started Students Against Nuclear Energy. I joined the peace team. I started marching. I became a somewhat radical activist. And then I just followed the opportunity. You know, I always have felt that if we just knew each other, we'd like each other, and we'd understand that we all truly want the same thing. And so, you know, one step led to another, to another, to another.
Speak Russian to me.
Ой, я тебя люблю и благодарю, что ты меня спрашивала, что я говорю по-русски.
You are such a gem. I will tell you. The work that you have done over in Russia and Ukraine is spectacular.
I'm grateful.
And you deserve this award so much.
Well, can everyone here. I've had so much fun meeting some of these awardees. I created with Katie's blessing, Katie Kunz's blessing, a little project called the Walden Community, and I invited everyone who wanted to join so we could start to see the world through each other's eyes. And I love to learn about collaboration. You know, as a recovering control person, collaboration's on my radar. And this community, these people, imagine what we could do, seriously, if we all were able to see each other's worlds, and we could see our world through each other's eyes. And we could it would be extraordinary.
And Barbara, you are extraordinary. Thank you so much.
Like you in the world. David, go ahead. Give her that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your good work, Dr. Barbara. How can people connect with you?
We have a website. It's sort of halfway revised at the moment, but it's teminocsl.org. And my email is info@teminocsl.org. And there's lots of ways. We're in a big step up right now. So we're really actively seeking volunteers and people to help us with product development and packaging and curriculum and all of those kinds of things. So there's lots of ways to play with us. And I am so grateful to be included in this august group of ours. And I'm very excited to see what happens, that we could do something together that really is amazing.
Together we are more powerful than individually.
Absolutely. And I'd like this community to use itself for something like that.
Thank
you
for
including me.
Barbara.
Very honored.
And I'm going to give a blurb for Barbara real quick here is that if you have money to give, this is the place to give it. This is a place that really is making a difference in the world.
Well, it goes a long way over there, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear. Our next honorees today are Pastor Greg Stamper and Pastor Yolanda Batts. And I'll just go back to my good old thing here. And they co-founded the Celebration Spiritual Center in Brooklyn, New York, where they preach about practical spirituality and the divine presence within. Both their music, which is a mix of contemporary gospel and New Thought lyrics, and their message are empowering. Their credo is, in worship we celebrate God, in meditation we contact God, in prayer we know God, and in living we activate God. Greg Stamper is a fourth-generation interfaith minister, recording artist. He wrote his first gospel song at 5. He's a life coach, author, entrepreneur, and information technology expert who previously served several other churches. In addition to being a pastor, Greg Batts is a singer, songwriter, certified yoga teacher, meditation instructor, and music psychotherapist. And she's also a student of transcendental meditation, has studied and taught A Course in Miracles for more than 16 years. To get hold of her, just say celebrations.sc.org. Well, welcome you two. I can't see you, but I'm sure I can hear you. There you are.
Hello, Ken. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. What an exciting thing you have. Brooklyn, New York. That must be a great place to do this.
Absolutely. It's the best place on earth. It's the best place on earth, yes.
And you got connected and going with this and moving in this particular direction of interfaith. How? I mean, you know, you have five churches before this. I mean, get out of here. Raymond Charles Barker only did 4. So,
well, first, let me just say how grateful and appreciative we are of this beautiful and powerful honor to be named amongst so many powerful leaders and teachers and speakers and inspirers and empowerers. So thank you for acknowledging us and the work that we're doing over these last 5 years. For myself, I had a watershed moment after attending seminary in 2000. I realized that what I thought I was going to be doing, and I went to a Christian seminary, I realized there was more. And it took me from strictly looking at the teachings of Jesus to going to the teachings of Buddha. And then it brought me back to my study of Joseph Campbell and looking at comparative religion. And I realized that there was something more, and that ultimately led me to the path of New Thought.
And for me, it's been more than 17 years that I've become a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles. And as a therapist, I love the intersection of spirituality and psychotherapy. And so it was important that we not only bring people back to themselves, but actually help them access the power of their mind to create an amazing life.
Absolutely.
It's spectacular. You know, A Course in Miracles was always one of my favorites. There's only two emotions, love and fear, and what fear is the absence of love. I mean,
absolutely.
That's a connection and a half in itself. Well, you know, I just have to congratulate you two. The work that you've done and the work that you're doing is spectacular, and I want you to know that we at the Walden Awards, at Association for Global New Thoughts, bless you and honor you. And we're so glad that you're doing this teaching and helping us transform the world to become a better place, a world that works for everyone. So
absolutely.
God bless you. Where can we reach you? Where can we get hold of you? How can we find out more about you?
Well, the best place is to go to our website, Celebration SC, S as in spiritual, C as in center.org. There you can access all of our message series. You can access the music. You can find out how to come and visit us here in Brooklyn and learn more about what it is that we're doing each week. You can also find us on Facebook. We stream our services every Sunday on our Facebook page. Just search for Celebration Spiritual Center. And also Instagram, we're very active. So Celebration SC, again, S as in spiritual, C as in center. You can find us on social media.
Thank you so much, you two, and congratulations again. You deserve it. So bless you.
Thank you, Ken. It is such an honor. Thank you.
Be well.
Welcome. All right, my next guest here is, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Mirabi Star. And Mirabi Star shines brightly indeed. She's the daughter of the counterculture, was born to secular Jewish parents who were anti-war activists. When she was 11, her family embarked on an extended road trip, living on a Mexican beach before moving to the Lama Foundation, which is an intentional spiritual community in northern New Mexico. She came of age there, cultivating a deep respect for the interconnection of all faiths, and even spending several summers as an assistant to Baba Ram Das. Star taught college, philosophy, and religious studies for 20 years, and is now known for her contemporary translations of sacred literature, often by the Christian mystics. She speaks internationally and leads retreats on the interconnected wisdom of the mystics, contemplative practice, and the transformational power of loss and longing. You've seen her in both the January-February 2015 and January-February 2016 issues of Unity magazine. And to reach her, all you have to do is put in mirabistar.com. So, Mirabai, are you there?
I am. I don't know how to turn on my camera.
You push the little thing that says stop video so that it starts down in the bottom left corner.
Yeah, nothing's popping up.
Okay. Well, let's just keep talking.
Here we go. Start my video. That should do it.
That's the one. Look at that.
Great.
So
Thank you.
you started off with Ram Dass like I did. Congratulations.
Oh, did you say you hung out with Ram Dass?
No, I didn't hang out with Ram Dass. What I did was I first found him in university on a set of tapes, a series of tapes. How about you? What are you doing with your life these days? How are you bringing the interdenominational group of people together in your life?
Well, having grown up in the counterculture and having been exposed to people like Ram Dass, who has been a companion all along ever since I was around 12. In fact, I'm going to teach at a retreat of his next week in Ojai, California. So he's been there all along. And I grew up in an environment in this kind of alternative countercultural world in which all of the world's great wisdom traditions were honored. Most of the people in my parents' communities, in our communities, were fleeing from their own their own religions, the religions of their childhood, and finding meaning mostly in the Eastern traditions. And I just have found my way back over time to my own ancestral roots in Judaism, but not to the exclusion of, but rather inclusive of all the world's wisdom ways. And I think that what's been especially alive for me are the teachings of the women in all of the great world's religions. And they're hard to find, they're hard to unearth. I actually just finished writing a book called Wild Mercy, and it's coming out in the spring with Sounds True. And it's drawing on the wisdom of the women mystics from Judaism, Christianity, Sufism, Buddhism, Hinduism, indigenous traditions, with an emphasis on the teachings of peace and justice. In other words, the teachings of love.
That's fantastic. And, you know, New Thought, of course, was primarily begun by women.
Yes.
I would highly recommend that you look for some of those authors that go back 100, 150 years.
Right.
Yeah. But it is so nice to see this interaction that's taking place between traditional theism. I mean, you know, when we actually think about it, I think the only way we're going to transform this world is going to be done through people of faith. And my sense behind it is that the honorees, yourself included, are people who have a deep appreciation of the beauty and joy of life itself. And so I congratulate you. I think it's spectacular. And tell us, how do we get hold of you? How do we learn more about you? How do we send you money? How do we connect?
No money, thank you. Send your money to the places that really need it. But I would love to connect with anyone who's interested in following my work. You can just go to my website, mirabaistar.com. And I hope you will look for this new book when it comes out in the spring, Wild Mercy. This is my 14th book, but it's the one I'm definitely most excited about, and the one that has turned me inside out and changed me, as the wild and merciful teachings of the feminine will do.
Thank you. Thank you, Mirabai. And God bless you. Thank you for all the work that you do. And thank you for Reverend Kelly Hisola, Dr. Barbara Leger, and Pastor Greg Stamper, and Pastor Yolanda Batts. This has been a great segment. I appreciate you all immensely, and I'm grateful for the work you're doing. Together, we're going to transform this world. So God bless you.
And thank you so much, Dr. Ken Gordon. We really appreciate you being here and hosting this interfaith, intercultural segment. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of the honorees. Congratulations. At this point, let's just take a breath. We've been through a lot. Think of all the people that you've heard from and the difference they're making, and that it started from a passion, it started from a desire, it started from something inside. And so I invite you, as you move forward, to consider what needs to happen through you now, what's ready to emerge through you now. And so, Dr. David, do you want to introduce our next segment?
Yes.
We've got Holly here.
It's my honor. I have a wonderful addition. Sharing the screenshot, I'd like to introduce Holly Sharp. Holly is the Associate Editor and Creative Director of Guide for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind magazine. And Holly also did the interview with Dr. Northrup for the September issue of the magazine. So I wanted to introduce Holly, who will be having a conversation with Dr. Northrup.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me tonight. And so, as David mentioned, I had the privilege of interviewing Dr. Northrup for our September issue, and now I'd like to introduce her as our honoree for the Mind Body Healing Award. A visionary pioneer in women's health and wellness, Christiane Northrup, MD, focuses on everything that can go right with the female body, at a time when most doctors are focused on all that can go wrong with it. Long a believer in the unity of mind, body, emotions, and spirit, Northrop's empowering messages inspire women to thrive at every stage of life. A board-certified obstetrician, gynecologist, who graduated from Dartmouth Medical School, Northrop is internationally respected as an author and speaker who has hosted 8 PBS television specials. Her first 2 books, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, and The Wisdom of Menopause, broke new ground in women's health and were New York Times bestsellers. With her third such bestseller, Goddesses Never Age, which came out under Hay House in 2015, Northrop offers a positive mindset about growing older. Northrop graced the cover of Unity magazine in February 2014, and she was with us in September 2018. Thank you, Dr. Northrop, for being here with us tonight.
It is my pleasure. You know, what you do here is really how I started. The medical stuff is, you know, as soon as I got to medical school, I realized, wait a minute, if I just sit down with someone, they'll tell me what's going on. I wanted to show you this. This is just from my library. I know it's backwards, people. I know this. The Healing Secrets of the Ages by Catherine Ponder. I've been following the work of Catherine Ponder, Edgar Casey, you name it, since I was 12 years old. And so here's the thing, everybody. You go to this kind of a presentation. We go to church or we meet with faith-based people. But then when we go to the doctor, it all goes out the window because the new religion of this culture is Western medicine. And we're worshiping the wrong thing. We need to come back to the divinity inside us that informs our cells, that changes our DNA, that can turn back the clock, that can create spontaneous remission from every known disease, because we have data that shows that there is spontaneous remission for every known disease. And in almost every case, the thing that changed was the person's belief system. Many, many times they were no longer afraid of death, but they said, I'm going to live every moment to its fullest. This is about the spirit that is inside the physical body. And so when you go and someone tells you you need a colonoscopy or a mammogram or you need your 72nd vaccine, please remember that you're part of God. God is inside. Now, God is also outside. I mean, it's bigger than we are. But really, my whole career has been about helping people remember this, not instructing them in this, helping them remember the truth of this so that we take the MD degree, medical doctor, and stop making it a medical deity. The deity is speaking directly to you, directly to your heart, directly to your cells. You have that kind of healing power inside. So please, if you possibly can, retract it from the medical profession. Your health will be way better for it. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. And with Making Life Easier and Dodging Energy Vampires coming out over the past year, what new projects are you working on to change people's minds and their lives?
Well, right now I'm a little bit down a rabbit hole about the 72 vaccines that are now recommended by the age of 18. That's triple the number before 1986, and all of them contain toxic aluminum and this kind of thing. And we need to look at this and we need to make it all safer. The HPV vaccine is one that I'm particularly interested in letting people know more about. Again, I don't want them to lose their own sense of what is right. I'm very interested in how diagnoses come in dreams, but how we can use our own power to change this. And also the Dodging Energy Vampires thing was the result of a lifetime of, now a lot of people listening, I know this, are old soul empaths. We tend to be targeted by what I call energy vampires. And it's not that they don't need love and attention. It's that we need to provide that for ourselves. And I talked to my daughter last night, and she had a run-in with someone, and she said, the most loving thing you can do is let them feel the loss of letting them use you as a drug. Whoa.
Powerful.
Powerful, yes.
And people can tune in with you on Wednesday mornings for your online radio show, correct?
That's right. Yes, Hay House Radio. The show is called Flourish. And everything that I'm doing is over on the website, drnorthrup.com. I have an e-letter, I have a blog, but my kind of ministry really is the Wednesday Hay House radio show called Flourish. I take callers, and then everything of great interest to me, like how to properly hydrate your body. I interview people on my radio show, and it really is kind of a ministry. Yeah.
It definitely is a ministry. I know you've impacted my life and so many of the people that I love. So thank you, Dr. Northrup.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am deeply, deeply honored. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Holly. And Dr. Northrup, I want to thank you so much for being here. I've been watching the comments scroll in as we've been going through your interview, and woman after woman has commented about how meaningful and important your work has been in their life. And you have truly impacted the multitudes. Your books are Bibles for generations of women. So we thank you and we honor you. And
thank you.
And we need you out there.
I will. I can't help myself. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So now from one powerhouse honoree to the next, I'm so happy to call forward Reverend Temple Hayes. She is the senior minister at First Unity Spiritual Campus of St. Petersburg. And she has the honorees for our fourth category, which is spiritual activism. These are the individuals in our New Thought communities who are raising their voices and actions in their commitment to the meaningful expression of spiritually guided social activism and engaged spirituality in the world today. Reverend Temple, are you with us?
I'm here.
Yay, welcome.
What a privilege. Wow, talk about a powerhouse internet connection this evening, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, absolutely incredible. What an honor. I've been watching all of it, and it's just fascinating, all these change agents. It's just incredible. Well, is Dr. David Alt with us this evening?
Unfortunately, he is not. He was planning to be with us. He had an unexpected family circumstance, and we do have the video that we'll share.
Great. So we will honor him. Dr. David Alt regularly leads groups on sacred site journeys, but one such adventure to Cambodia in 2004 became a game changer. Alt was inspired to start a nonprofit foundation that not only built 2 schools, but also provides medical and hygiene assistance, builds wells, and teaches agricultural and life skills. He's since spearheaded similar efforts in India and most recently, Guatemala. Amazing. Alt has been making things happen since his early days as a singer-songwriter. In the 1980s, he sung with the pioneering positive music Trio Alliance, appearing at events for Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson. Now he is a solo artist. As an ordained Science of Mind minister, Alt founded the Center for Spiritual Living in Mobile, Alabama, serving for 4 years, heading the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, where he's been since 2010. You can visit davidalt.com.
Hi everyone, my name is David Alt, and what an extreme honor and surprise it was to receive this Walden Award on its inaugural launch. Many years ago, I started what is now known as Kaleidoscope Child Foundation. The mission of this foundation is to provide free education, life skills, and fresh water to vulnerable children and their families across the globe. Today, thanks to many hearts and hands and committed volunteers, we serve more than 1,000 children and their families in Cambodia, in India, in Guatemala, and in the US, in some of the most vulnerable areas that exist on our planet. We've discovered that in this advocacy, that what we're actually doing is being a part of people's evolution. That evolution is taking them from the idea that they have to strive to be somebody, to soothe and to comfort them when they feel as though they're nobody, and hopefully bring them to a recognition that they are everybody. And so when we serve, we are served. And that continues to be the mission and the engine and the fuel behind our advocacy. And I appreciate this recognition and hopefully spreading the good news and the work of what we're doing around the world. Thank you so much.
Temple, could you start again? Sorry about the video. It was up, but you weren't able to see it on your screen. And then Temple, you were muted. So could you start the next one again?
Yeah, I was just saying what an incredible man that David Alt is. He truly lives, and the more you give, the more you are. He definitely is creating an energy of a world that works for everyone by working through everyone, that's for sure. And Dr. William Barber, Reverend Barber is, I don't see him on the video. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Reverend Barber was going to be calling in tonight because he was having problems with his video, but he is not present. So let's move on to
the powerful Ikayo, correct? Did I say that correctly?
It's a kuyogram.
Akuyo, okay. I looked it up and everything, and I thought, I got this down, but we welcome you. Akuyo, is that correct, Graham?
Akuyo Graham.
Akuyo Graham is a spiritual alchemist, the actor and playwright whose name means blessed woman. And you can see that from your aura, that you don't have to be reminded of that, right?
By the grace of God.
Lord, by the grace of God, in the God language of West Africa, you help incarcerated youth realize their spiritual identity and recast their lives. Since 1992, she's been performing a one-woman autobiographical play, Spirit Awakening, acting out scenes from her life, from tribal princes in her native Ghana, to British schoolgirl, to young New York actress, to a woman reclaiming her African heritage and deeper spiritual self. The experience inspired her to found the nonprofit Spirit Awakening Foundation in 1995 to teach at-risk kids the power of positive and productive expression. I love that. Positive and productive expression. And the experience inspired her to create so many spaces for children to grow and expand. And in its cornerstone, Rites of Passage program, they use meditation, creative writing, improvisation, and visual arts to write and perform their own life stories, which law enforcement says has helped curb gang violence. Graham also appears in the new indie film, Interference. Wow. When do you rest?
When do all of us rest? I just want to thank you so much and thank the Walden Awards. This is really an honor to be amongst all the people that are being honored this evening. I'm just so deeply grateful. All of them are heroes of mine. Listening to Dr. Christian Northrup just moved my spirit. And of course, Dr. Beckwith is my teacher, my spiritual teacher. So I am deeply, deeply honored and very grateful. So I accept this honor on behalf of all the children we serve and my staff and the board of directors of my organization. Thank you very much.
Well, for all the people that are tuning in right now live on Facebook all over the world and people that will be viewing later, what are some of the ways that we can support you right now?
Well, for those that are in Los Angeles, you can come to our next event, which is called Voices of the Unheard. And it is exactly what it is. We celebrate the unheard voices of the children that are incarcerated, of children that are out on the streets. We celebrate them through their spoken word, through dance and music. That is taking place November 1st here in Los Angeles at the Skirball Center. And otherwise, you can go on our website, www.spiritawakening.org, for more information about all of our events and upcoming programs that we have. And also, we're on Instagram and Facebook as well, and Twitter.
Well, thank you for leaving a footprint on our planet that will not only be permanent, but add to many of the changes in our own evolution. And we are very blessed and graced by your energy. Thank you, blessed woman.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Drums in my heart, drums in my soul, beating, beating. Feel their seductive rhythms pulsating through my veins. I am an ancient warrior.
I wrote Spirit Awakening not just as a vehicle for myself as an actor, but also as a vehicle to embrace myself, to be more self-accepting and to be more self-loving.
That first day, I wore my hair wrapped in threads, just as I had done in Ghana. These are no snakes in my hair. My skin is too dark. There's nothing wrong with my nose. Stop it, don't get nuts. My lips are not too big. Hey!
I received a lot of people asking, well, how can I write my story? What was your process? Simultaneously, I began volunteering my services in the juvenile halls and the probation facilities. I thought, why don't I assist these young people in telling the story of their lives, not from the point of view of being a victim, but as a way to be empowered.
I am entitled to these tangents because I live no linear truth. I am a broken poet, a figment of our shattered youth.
It's all come full circle. First, I wrote the play really for myself to serve my higher calling, and now I've become a servant to this piece, to this artistic piece, and it has become the catalyst through which I am able to serve God.
Wow, and we're just so honored that you are part of the Walden Awards recipients, and thank you so much for sharing who you are.
Thank you again. It is my honor, truly. Very grateful.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Our next recipient, so many people in the world already know, Reverend Dr. Deborah Johnson, whose aura is very, very bright. She is a lifelong social justice activist and spiritual leader who received the call to ministry at age 15. She is pivotal in two landmark California civil rights cases, one in 1984, including sexual orientation in the state's civil rights bill, and one in 2007, defeating the challenge to legalizing domestic partnerships. A Science of Mind minister, she was inducted into the board of preachers at the Martin Luther King Jr. Chapel at Morehouse College, which honors clergy for their lifetime social justice work. In 1997, Johnson founded Inner Light Ministries, an interfaith spiritual community in Santa Cruz, California. She is also a founding member of the Agape International Spiritual Center and Advisory Council, now a true member of the Leadership Council of the Association for Global New Thought, and a board member of the Pachamama Alliance, working with indigenous tribes to protect the Amazon forest. Wow. You are a blessing, and we are so honored that you're receiving this award.
Oh, the honor is all mine. Thank you so much, Temple.
So tell us what you're up to and how we can support you. And you've been walking this walk for so long, and you have been setting an example for so many of us. We've always loved your fire.
Well, you know, it's truly, I am humbled. I've been watching the award show since the beginning, and just to be in the midst of so many extraordinary change makers is truly humbling. You know, I have gratitude to all of the ancestors, to my colleagues, to my mentors, to my spiritual community, Inner Light. Special shout out to Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, who has really guided my spiritual journey. And what I know is that, as he always taught us, that pain pushes until vision pulls. That there are so many people who have the misconception that somehow or another, that if I get involved in activism, that's somehow going to disturb my spirituality. But I find that there are so many of us that are so disturbed already that in our activism that we haven't really engaged our spirituality. So I feel like so much of what is involved for us right now is finding what I call that sweet spot between really wanting to make a difference, but having it grounded in something that's beyond rage or anger and literally being pulled by a vision. The world needs, I think, the message that we have as a new thought genre of spiritual tradition about inclusion, about empowerment, about possibility. And I think that we're here really now for such a time as this. So much of my work that I feel is calling me right now is helping to usher in that beloved community where we get beyond the social political divides and really understand that we all have something that we can offer one another. So I'm looking forward to doing trainings that help us have what I call the really courageous conversations, and doing that difficult work to make the institutional change that needs to be done to make sure that there is access and equality and opportunity for all.
Well, I know, Deborah, that this is an exciting time for you to be, you know, receiving this award. There's no
Yes,
doubt.
it is, indeed.
But I also know that you must find such joy in your heart because you were like one of the first people out of the closet. I mean, really, I remember forever ago, we've been around a while. I remember
been around a while.
Large circles, and you would be saying, wow, you know, let's get on with it. I mean, we need to, we need to do things, and we need to get moving. It's going, what? You know, we're praying and we're meditating. So I know that this is a great part of wonderful timing for you to just be in the joy of seeing it happen and seeing it happen globally. And just to say that, I just want to say that you are one of the first stones that ever went into the water that caused that rippling effect. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I am honored. And yes, I was one of the very first to be publicly, you know, out of the closet. What I know is that Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that God would never place a permanent yoke of inferiority upon any group of people. So regardless of what the issue is, if the issue is about gender, about sexual orientation, physical abilities, immigration status, it doesn't matter, that we are all equal in the eyes of God. And if we're going to be spiritual activists, we have to understand that we are born with this innate equality. We can't make laws to get us to be equal. The laws can only validate a pre-existing equality. So somewhere I want to encourage anybody and everybody who's listening to know that you are part of the divine. Divine loves you, wants you, and you have a place. I was raised in the Pentecostal church, and, you know, we heard some really hard messages back then. But it wasn't just on sexual orientation, it was everything. It was the race issues, it was the feminist issues between the ages of 10 and say 25. My city of Los Angeles went up in flames at least 3 times. All the assassinations in the 60s and the 70s. But somewhere in all of that milieu,
I knew that we really were just one human family, that somehow or another we had to learn to get over it. Somehow or another we had to learn to affirm the divinity in each other. So find it in you. Don't just wait for somebody else to validate it in you. You find it.
That is the truth. Thank you, Reverend Deborah. You are extraordinary. And how can, oh, well, we'll go to video.
Sacred activism is transcending the distraction of our reactions. It's using laws of attraction and co-creative action to put into motion potions to heal what we collectively feel. It's rising above our comfort zones to confront what is right in front of us. Spiritual activism is always we're one, never we one. Refusing to give the last word to the spiritually absurd, striving to divide the divine. Will you do the work in society to renew what's true and undo what's through? Will you usher in a brighter day, a more inclusive way? Will you be like the sages of the ages and dare when enraged to remain peacefully engaged? Will you stay woke and aware, give prayer and care, promote unity everywhere? Make equality a reality by creating opportunity. Give a hand up, not merely a hand out. Demonstrate what compassion and justice is really about. From education to immigration, from birth control to gun control, from prison pardons to urban gardens, from healthcare to spyware, empowering you to artistic truth, the list expands. Just take a stand. Make a demand for spiritual alignment. That's your assignment. Though the wall seems tall, still answer the call. Make the choice to find your voice, hear our song, and sing it strong.
Woo! Wow, that'll get you going. Ready to go on a march. Here we go. You can find Deborah at innerlightministries.com. Again, what an honor. Bless you. Absolutely.
Thank you, Reverend Temple.
Clyde Terry. I just saw him in the green room. Clyde?
Looks like Clyde dropped out of the lineup for a minute.
Okay.
So he was here for a long time. Let's move forward and we will come back to him.
There he is. There he is.
Oh, good. Okay, let's move forward. We just needed a minute.
Hello, Clyde. It's so good to see you again.
Likewise. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. It's such a privilege that you're being honored this evening.
Thank you. It's my honor. It's my honor to, I'm looking at the list of people and it's just blown away by the contribution people have made in the world. Can you hear me?
Temple, you're muted. There you are.
Okay. So I would like to share with those that are currently listening as those that will be listening later, Clyde, to just paint the picture of who you are and what you have done with an empty canvas in your life to make magic and create just extraordinary new definition of what it means to be of service. Clyde Terry helps those enmeshed in crime, drugs, and violence reimagine their lives and then step into that vision. Following a decade as a U.S. Marine with 25 years as a deputy sheriff with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, working in Los Angeles County's toughest communities, Terry vowed to make a difference the day he found a 7-year-old boy shot in the chest and imagine his own son lying there. Wow. 2 years later, in 2009, he launched the Emerging Leaders Academy, combining his street smarts with tools like hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, and New Thought teachings, alongside with the mentoring and career training. Agape International Center soon became part of the home base. More than 2,700 people have been through the program to date, with 73% avoiding any type of negative contact with law enforcement after graduation. That's amazing. Now retired from the public force, Terry runs the program full-time. EmergingLeaders360.org. Clyde Terry, you're incredible.
Thank you.
It's an honor for us to give you this award.
It's an honor to receive it, really. You know, to be named in the same breath with all the people that have come before me, just now, just listening to this. And you know, it's interesting because going on behind me is my class, my program, and trying to manage the program and be on the calls and listening to people. And I'm just in awe of the talent and the people, the contribution that people were making. I was reading a thing by Martin Luther King. He says, if you're 38, as he was at the time when he wrote this, and you're called to stand for something, you're called to something that matters, and you don't do it because you're afraid of, you know, of how you'll be ridiculed, or you're afraid of being shot, you're afraid of your house being blown up. If you are afraid to do that because you're afraid that of all those things, and you live to be 90 years old, you'll be dead at 90, just as dead at 90 as you were at 38. And so I see that the people that have come before me on this panel are people who are willing to put everything at stake. And so it's an honor to be there. It's an honor to be with this group. Yeah.
Well, it's with the team, it's just been a great privilege to be able to recognize you. And thank you for the work you're doing. And we just see it and hold it as multiplying. Thank you for being you.
Well, thank you. And I really get that, you know, Reverend Michael says something, and I really got it. But I started Emerging Leaders before. I met Reverend Michael, but he says, you know, if something really bothers you, then God gave it to you. And
that's perfect.
right. And so, you know, Emerging Leaders has been that thing. And for me, what I've done is started to look at, okay, well, what made a difference for me, and how could I give this to other people in the community? How could I get them to see more of themselves? And one of the things we tell people here in Emerging Leaders is we don't give you anything. God gave you everything. We're just here to remind you of who you've always been. And when people begin to see for themselves like who they really are, and they get reminded of who they are, people who had dreams, and even with their parents, like to forgive their parents, like at one point your parents were kids. They were little kids who had dreams. And then when you were born, you just saw them as mom and dad. You don't get that they were kids like you at one point. And just for them to be able to forgive and go back into their community and fall in love again with who they are and with people in their community. And to, like, I've had people who are Aryan Brotherhood, you know, Mexican Mafia, Bloods, Crips, people that I put in jail when I was on an FBI task force that have come through our program. And we've created an amazing bond because it's not police, it's not a person with a criminal history. It's about spirit seeing spirit and being able to speak to that person's spirit and getting them to see who they really are. Like taking a transgender person who didn't have a high school diploma and went back and got her GED and got kicked out of transitional housing because the men didn't want her there because she was transgender. The women didn't want her there because she was transgender, and she ended up going back to, she got one of the LA community colleges, and she went back to the area where she just turned tricks and used drugs. And she says, Clyde, what am I going to do with this? And I go, I don't have the answer for you, but let's figure it out. And in that moment, she goes, you know what? She says, I've never been out here sober. I've never been out here sober, so I can take everything that I learned in Emerging Leaders and I can use those principles. She took bird baths and went to class every day, ended up on the dean's list, created a short movie, which ended up on Madonna's tour. And now, to make a long story short, she's now in film school at USC.
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Clyde. I love hearing stuff like that. And I also think you're such a perfect example of why we're honoring the folks we're honoring, because here you are being honored, but you still have your class going on in the back. Like you're still in your business, doing your work.
Right.
So
Right.
real quick, could you just let us know how folks who want to get involved and know more, how they can reach out to you?
Emergingleaders360.org.
Perfect.
You can always find me at Agape.
Yes.
And you can email me. Probably the easiest way is emergingleaders2014@gmail.
Okay.
And they can always call me at 424-248-7904.
That's called available right there.
Yeah,
Thank you, his digits. Thank you so much, Clyde Terry. We're so grateful for you being here. And Reverend Temple Hayes, thank you for your time with us. We appreciate you so much.
Before you go, though, Reverend Julie, I want to say thank you for seeing something in me, and for you, like, just really being a catalyst for me being able to sit with this group of people. So if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here. I'd still be doing my work, but I wouldn't be recognized. So I just want to say thank you for who you are.
My absolute honor. You've earned every step of the way. Thank you both. I want to thank all the honorees with spiritual activism. You've all been extraordinary, and we're grateful for your presence here. And so everybody take a breath. We are in the home run stretch here right now. We are coming in on the final category. It's going to be our brilliant next generation category. And I'd like you to make note before we move forward that the nominations will officially open for 2019 Walden Awards. They'll open right as soon as this summit closes. So you can find places to nominate on your Unity, Center for Spiritual Living, on the Agape websites, and of course on the Association for Global New Thought websites. So make sure you know about that, and let us know what the folks are doing in your community, because we really want to hear about everybody and all the good works that they're doing. And now I would like to welcome Reverend Kevin Ross. He is the Senior Minister and CEO of Unity in Sacramento, California, and he will be introducing our next generation category. These honorees are the ones that are rising up in a big, bold, bright way with their collaborative voices, and we are so very grateful for their presence. Rev Kev, do we have you on?
This is Barbara. Kevin was in the green room earlier, but he's not here on the broadcast. So I wonder, just in the interest of time, could you or Dr. David begin this category? And I'm sure he'll be joining us shortly.
Yes, Dr. David would love to start.
I'm happy to do it. I got it. So in this category, the first amazing individual we're starting with is Ariel. And this is the extraordinary musician that you heard from earlier. So singer, songwriter, and guitar player Ariel is 28 years old, and she plays by her own rules, putting the classic folk rock artist way ahead of the game. Excuse me. She began singing at 5 and got her first guitar when she was 10. Queen's Brian May wrote a key role for her in his musical, We Will Rock You. She soon signed a big record deal, and her song, California, climbed the charts. And then Ariel walked away to go indie, rejecting the cliche skinnier, sexier image the label was pushing, and choosing instead to be genuine, raw, and real, and inspiring others to dive deep and embrace their own truth. The brave move paid off. When she's not playing her own gigs, she's opening for big acts like Guns N' Roses and Eric Johnson. Periodically, she sings at Agape International Spiritual Center. Her new EP, Mind Lion, is absolute beast. Please join me in welcoming Ariel.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Hey, from London, England.
What takes you to London, Ariel?
It's music, guitars. I just love the culture, just traveling around.
Oh, bless you. It must be, 6 or 7 in the morning there now?
It's It's 4:30, I think, in the morning.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for
Okay.
sharing your consciousness and sharing your gift with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What is what's percolating for you? What's on your growing edge at the moment?
Well, the latest thing that has happened is 11 years ago, I designed a guitar that I built for me at the time. I'm 5'1" and small, and guitars weren't really built for what I felt was a woman body ergonomically and just weight-wise. So I've got a new guitar that Brian May is going to be releasing that's female-friendly, also for men. And just, I guess, collecting stories and experiences of life, both trying and definitely beautiful, and sharing them in music and getting to connect with people that enjoy it and connect with the message that I'm working to get across.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing one of your original pieces that we played earlier in this particular event, in this particular series. Do you prefer your original work? Do you prefer existing songs that you can make your own? What's your favorite way to express as an artist?
And definitely original songs are my favorite. Cover is always great to see, I guess, where I stand musically and have my own take on them, but original is definitely where my heart lies.
I love that. And how do you, as an artist, how do you create? Just walk me through that process a little bit. Is that something that drops in? Is that something that you work through? Are you more about collaboration? What does your process look like?
It's always different. To me, for lack of a better word, best or purest songs that I write are usually instant. Within 10 minutes. I'm like, it just channels its way through, and people ask, well, how did you write it? I'm like, well, I didn't. I just showed up and I don't remember. It's just kind of like, well, I don't know. And I'll usually hear full lyrics and a melody and a chord progression at the same time. But if that is not happening, I'll usually just be experiencing something like traveling, or I'll see somebody going through something, whether it's or an epiphany I have, or collaborating with someone else to get different energies involved. It always starts with a feeling and something that's really relevant to where I'm at in that moment. So it gets to live inside the song, but it's always different how it comes across.
I love that. And so much of what we've been talking about feels like spiritual practice, but I really wanted to presence that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about your spiritual practice and what that looks like for you, being as busy as you are, flying around the world, and how do you stay so grounded and so centered?
I'll be honest, it's very challenging sometimes, just because the lack of a regime that allows me to be in a physical one place at a time. I'm constantly moving, so the intention has to be really strong in me to remember what happens when I don't do my practices. The one that I start with is meditation right when I get up, and then no matter where I am in the world, I do a yoga studio tour where I'll just go and do my yoga and get to connect and remember that no matter where I am, there is a community of people that want to just settle in with mind, body, spirit, to be and take time for that. Mm-hmm. Also to make sure that I surround myself with positive people that are also like-minded in that way and have intentions for something greater than themselves. And those tend to be the most important things, and obviously eating properly and resting. But I think the morning and how I start the day is the most important. Sure.
Well, that is powerful, and yours is important work. And thank you. Thank you for your unique presence in the world, and thank you for everything that you are teaching so many of us who are connected with you in heart and mind and spirit through your extraordinary gift of music. It's our joy and our honor to have you as one of our honorees, and we look forward to doing whatever we can do to support you going forward. And what is the best way for people to connect with you, Ariel?
The best way for most people to connect with me is either my website, which is the letters I and M, and my name, ARIELLE.com. And I'm pretty accessible via Facebook, Instagram, just under Official Ariel. And again, I just want to say thank you so much to you, David, and to Reverend Julie and everybody who's been involved in this, because obviously I'm surrounded by incredible people doing amazing things. And sometimes it's hard to be like, well, I'm just a musician, and it's easy to think that way. And so when we all get to connect in this way and remind ourselves that all of it together has such power, it's beautiful and healing. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this and for thinking about me.
We've got you. Thank you for being a part of the community, and enjoy your time in London.
And get some sleep, Ariel. Thank you so much for being with us. I love you. I love you.
Oh, I love you.
Everybody listening, follow Ariel on social media. She's a blast, and you hear lots of great music. You can go to bed now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. So do we have Rev Kev on now? Is Kevin Ross here?
Rev Kev is in the house.
Awesome. Welcome.
I want to also say well done, Ariel, and I want to acknowledge that you, in as much as you give out the love and the energy through your music, that is so important that you do the self-care. And we want you to find the places and the spaces to recharge your spiritual battery so that we can give more out to the world.
Rev Kev, would you like to introduce our second honoree?
I believe I'm introducing David.
Yes, sir.
All right. Just want to make sure we're on the road here. And thanks, everybody. We had a few challenges here. Let's see if we can pull this up. Oh, God. Talk amongst yourself for just 1 second.
I got you, Rev Kev. Let me jump in here if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Educator and activist, Reverend David Lewis Pert, is 34 years old and has worked in
community development.
There you go.
Social services for more than a decade. In 2012, he co-founded the Sunset Service Toronto Fellowship, an interfaith bridge building ministry that welcomes the LGBTQ community and members of marginalized racial and ethnic communities all across all faiths. An ordained New Thought minister, Lewis Pert was among 12 faith leaders participating in the biggest international LGBTQ mass wedding in history. He held in Toronto, Canada at the Worldwide Pride Festival. He's worked with Black faith leaders on political action and with interfaith clergy to address HIV/AIDS stigma. He found New Thought as a team through the Universal Foundation for Better Living's Toronto Church. Let's welcome our friend and my fellow UFBL brother, Reverend David Lewis Pert. And we congratulate you with this Walden Award. Brother David, welcome.
Thank you.
And how does this feel, first and foremost, to be recognized by a group of leaders who see what you're doing, who feel the importance of your work, and who are saying, yes, give us more?
I was in LA a couple weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to go to Agape. And I was telling Reverend Beckwith, I said, you know, when I was 16, I got the CD and book of yours, and I listened to it until the pages were worn down. And it's huge to me to think that 16-year-old kid is now me, stood in front of someone that I really admired and respected, and helped me with a time that was really challenging. And now I'm a peer of sorts. I know not quite a peer. He's got huge shoes to fill. But
well, you have appeared.
Yes.
You have appeared.
Okay.
You have attracted a group of individuals who see you peaking, you know, and so you have appeared. How about that?
Okay. All right. I'll take that.
So, you know, within our New Thought movement, we practice this inclusion. We say that I'm one with God, I'm one with all people, I'm one with all life, I'm one with the one, and we say this and we make this bold declaration. Right. May I say, what is it like, however, to take take that piece of philosophical declaration and then marry it in a practical way within and among the LGBTQ community? Have you found your work to be received well within and among New Thought people?
Yeah, you know, Sunset Service still continues to this day. I don't lead Sunset Service. It's led now by a colleague and friend, other peers. But in Toronto, it has been well received for the most part. I just came back today this evening from a book launch, Marvelous Grounds, The Queering of Toronto's Histories, which is this anthology that was created, I contributed to. And in that, I spoke about the work of Sunset Service. And so today was all a day of talking about that work and its relevancy to the city and within LGBTQ communities, and the importance of queering faith. And like you said, saying inclusive doesn't necessarily always mean an action. And we really tried to, and it wasn't only about LGBT folks, right? It was about young people, people of disparate faiths, people of no faith, and having an embodied experience. Like that was the thing about our services. It was about not just being a head thing. And sometimes even within New Thought, there's a tendency to get cerebral. And you know, people showed up and showed out and fell out. And I was really pleased to be a part of that creation.
Well, and that is extraordinarily important work, David. And many of us who have participated in the session tonight are going to be traveling to Toronto and would love for the Parliament of the World's Religions. And we would love to connect with you as the opportunity presents itself and see how we might continue to support you and continue to partner.
I'm the Next Generation Task Force co-chair for the Problems of World Religion.
Of course you are.
So when you're there, look for the Next Generation folks. That's us, me and Sarah Rahim lead that, and we'll be having a big event on November 6th at 8 p.m. So yeah, definitely look out for me. And
thank you, David. We will do that. And how can people connect with you if they'd like to reach out?
David Lewis Peart on Twitter, David Lewis Peart on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or if on Instagram, Only the Poets, ONLYDA Poets. That Instagram is mostly for my art-based stuff, but you're free to follow me there too.
Thank you, and congratulations again.
We'll see you there, and congratulations.
All right, all the best.
And you have our next honoree, Rev Kev?
Yes, I have Jamal Yogis. He is 38 years old and ran away from home at 16 to surf in Hawaii, beginning an international odyssey that will involve almost becoming a Buddhist monk and eventually landing at Columbia Journalism School. In his two memoirs, he seamlessly marries his two passions, catching the curl and embracing Buddhist philosophy. Saltwater Buddha also became a 2015 documentary. In The Fear Project, He interviews top scientists, psychologists, and athletes about what fear is and how to live mindfully and courageously in spite of it. Yogis has spoken to Olympic athletes, Silicon Valley companies, advertising agencies, yoga and meditation centers, and it just goes on, including Jack Cornfield's Spirit Rock. And we are so delighted to have you as a 2018 Walden Award honoree. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here.
Mm-hmm. You want to sound off and share just a little bit about what this honor means for you at this time, and what is so significant about your work right now that those of us who are tuning in need to know about you and why we are taking the time to honor you.
Thank you. Well, you know, first of all, it's beyond humbling. I mean, I grew up really looking to unity as what my family wasn't personally connected, but I had I really just appreciated. I wanted to know more, and I grew up. My mom was grew up Jewish. My dad was Catholic, and they both parted ways with those faiths and to explore other ideas, Eastern thought, science, you know. And we were just kind of raised in a house where all this stuff was around. Mm-hmm. We had, you know, the Hebrew Bible, the Bible. We had Native American texts. We had Buddhist texts, and also Freud and you know, Newton, and you know, we were never told what to believe.
So how has what you have come to believe impacted your work and brought you to this point where we're now celebrating you?
You know, what I have come to believe is that we're at this turning point where you know, young people are questioning in a really positive way, because for generations we've had a choice whether you're either a person of faith or you're a hardcore materialist, where you basically are just believing the dogma of whatever the latest study is. But what's happening that's exciting now, and I came to this really through my research in the Fear Project, where I got to go around the world, interview scientists who are on the cutting edge of their field in physics, neuroscience, psychology. I'm a big lover of science, but I was also a religious studies major. Mm-hmm. and a philosophy major in undergrad. And so as a young person myself, I was trying to put all these different loves together and see where they met and test the boundaries. And it seemed like, even for me, this person who had this big spectrum of choices, that there was a stark choice. You're either a spiritual person or you're a person who is who believes in data.
Right.
And I was looking for where those came together, and I realized that the people who are seeking data in an open-minded way are asking the exact same questions that the great spiritual thinkers have been asking for millennia, and yet you know, we so that we don't have to choose. We don't have to choose. We can see the great scientists and the great spiritual thinkers and philosophers as probing the same depths in different ways, whether you're going sort of inward as a so-called sort of psychonaut, or you're going outward probing the physical world, and we can go hand in hand. And that's really, but to keep questioning. And young people, give me one more second. Young people, I think now we're at an exciting time, because we're questioning both the science and we're questioning the religious dogma. And in that space, there's an opportunity for real discovery.
So how can people discover more about your work and follow the way you are mapping out the questions? How can people follow you? Tell us how we can reach you.
Well, you named my 3 books: Saltwater Buddha, The Fear Project, All Our Waves Are Water. And that's the best place. But, follow me on social media. But I think the books are really the place to go because
are they available on Amazon?
Anywhere books are sold. Yes, sir.
Anywhere books are sold. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. We expect to see even more big waves coming out of
All right, peace. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Rev Kev, can we go to, is it all right if I call you Rev Kev? It's just too much fun.
Of course, that's what everybody calls me.
Okay, because I got to say, I just want to say it all day.
Yeah, you're
Rev Kev, could you take us to Kelly Noonan-Gores?
To Kelly Noonan-Gores. Yes.
Awesome. We'll do Kelly and then Leah.
Okay, she's 39. She used mind-body medicine to heal herself of a digestive condition that normally requires taking medications for life. So this is already intriguing. She wanted to share what she learned about the mind-body connection. And so in 2012, she founded an independent production company, Elevative Entertainment, to write and produce conscious media that informs, inspires, and empowers. Her first documentary was titled Heal, and a 2017 documentary that examines the thoughts, beliefs, and emotions that affect health. The film features Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Michael Beckwith, Joe Dispenza, and more luminaries that we can shake a stick at. We all love all of them, and we are so happy. You can find out more about the Heal documentary at healdocumentary.com. And we are so honored to present you with this Walden Award for 2018. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Kevin.
Wow, what an amazing you are. What is it, first of all, what is it like to be you, to say that there must be another path to heal my body and my life, and so help me God, I'm going for it?
Yeah, I mean, I credit all the people that I put in the film. One of my biggest teachers has been Reverend Michael. And I just was driven by, hearing stories. Like, I took a class with Reverend Michael, and he told me about how he's working with a woman who, wanted to get on the donor list because her kidneys were failing. And so she was like, help me and get the class to manifest, getting me a kidney, a healthy kidney. And Reverend Michael's like, well, why don't we just all work together and heal your kidney? And she's like, no, the doctors say it's impossible. It's not possible. Let's just, let's pray and manifest that I get number 1 on the donor list and I get a healthy kidney. He's like, okay, well, while we're waiting, let's just work on healing your kidney. So stories like that. And like Dr. Northrup was talking about, how there's been spontaneous remissions for every illness, that those stories they just piqued my interest, and I wanted to know what is truly capable with the human body, because we are just miraculous beings, and I wanted to put it in a film and share it with people.
And so since the film has debuted and released, what are you now finding since you went out in that query? What have you proven through this process?
I just wanted to, it's not trying to say anything is right or wrong. It was just trying to kind of raise awareness of what's available out there. And we're kind of conditioned to believe that, especially if we're in an acute situation, or you get a scary diagnosis like cancer, you go to your doctor and you hang on every word and you do what they say. And I just kind of wanted to shine a light of that there's other options out there. And, you have to, if you want to really heal, you can certainly do Western medicine, but you have to address the emotional, mental, and spiritual components as well. A holistic approach.
So really quickly, what's on your desktop right now that we're going to get excited about following you and finding out about or with you?
We're finishing writing the Heal book, so that should be out next year, early next year, as Heal goes to Netflix. And that'll be a good guide to have in hand.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
Thank
and
you again.
how can people follow you?
On social media, and at Heal Documentary on Facebook, Twitter, and social Instagram. And for more information, or if you want to host a screening for Heal, you go to healdocumentary.com.
You heard it. Congratulations. We're so pleased with your great work, opening this up to a whole new generation.
Thank you so much.
And we've got a clip right
Just that
now.
disease starts in the mind. It's that everything starts in the mind.
In today's world, these stresses are 24/7, 365. The net result is illness and disease.
90% of what takes people to the doctor is stress-related illnesses.
When you perceive a threat, in the old days we referred to that as fight or flight.
But now it's your spouse, or it's your boss, or it's rent that's due in a week. And yet the system reacts as though it's a life-threatening situation.
And if you're running a fight or flight response all the time, your immune system is compromised chronically.
We have the most money going into healthcare than any country in the world, and we have some of the worst statistics of healthcare.
Doctors and insurance companies give a drug, which then has a side effect, more toxicity, more ill health.
My body wants to be healthy, but it's the head. It's the fear. I don't know who I am without being sick.
In a way, we have more faith in the power of cancer to kill us than we have faith in the power of infinite possibility.
Every organ in the human body has the ability to heal itself under the right conditions. What are those conditions? That's the question.
We are in a mindset that our body is a machine full of organs with buttons and levers that need adjusting.
Psoriasis and eczema, cause unknown. Multiple sclerosis, cause unknown. Fibromyalgia, cause unknown.
There have been radical remission for every single cancer type. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, a big brain tumor that's considered inoperable. There are examples of people out there who have healed from it. When I looked at the data, they were all using these 9. Only 2 of them are physical. The rest are mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Does this mean medicine is all negative? And I go, absolutely not. Medicine does miracles with trauma.
If you have a chronic illness, believe the diagnosis, but don't believe the prognosis.
What we see here is belief itself shifts biology.
That intelligence giving us life. It is the greatest healer in the world.
These symptoms are brilliantly intelligent in waking us up. Doesn't matter how long you've been sick, you can heal, and always remember that and never forget it.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to share, this film is a must watch. And for all of you listening, this would be a great film to bring in and show at your spiritual centers. It'll change how you think about your body and your life. Thank you so much, Kelly Noonan-Goras. We're so
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys.
Absolutely.
Next.
We got Leah Pearlman, Rev Kev.
All right, Leah. Let me pull up Leah. Thank you so much for giving me all this wonderful opportunity. Leah, she is a rising star in the early days of Facebook. She came up with the idea for the like button. For all her external success, she was racked with internal chaos, which she tried to soothe with bulimia. Taking a sabbatical, she dove into a spiritual quest, even going on a silent meditation retreat in Nepal. What eventually surfaced was a series of clever stick figure comics that express heavy concepts in an uplifting way. Naming them Dharma comics, after the Sanskrit word meaning truth, Pearlman shared them online. Her book, Drawn Together, was endorsed by the likes of Jack Kornfield, Tara Brock, and Byron Katie. Now she's co-leading consciousness leadership camp intensives, helping others discover their own Dharma. And we are so happy to meet you and have you. And congratulations on the 2018 Walden Award.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
So you got us liking each other around the world. Is that cool or what?
Yeah, it was cool.
And now we're loving each other. They've even created a love button since you got us liking each other.
I know, we get to emote in all sorts of ways now.
Yeah. So tell us more about the impact that you see your work is having in the world today.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've had different phases of my work. So you mentioned the like button. Just to talk about that for a minute, when I was back in technology days, I was just all about trying to make software that worked well. When I left the company, I've been on the spiritual journey that never ends. And since finding myself here and learning about, the power of positive thought and the power of attention, I'm starting to discover retroactively why the like button was so powerful. It was all about affirming and putting our attention on things. And for years, people asked for a dislike button, but we never saw a reason because we knew the fastest way for something to actually be disliked is to be ignored. So if there was no button, no one would click it and it would just disappear. So I'm really enjoying seeing, now that I'm studying a lot of, law of attraction, power of intention in a mindfulness, spiritual way, seeing how that's manifesting globally with something like the like button.
How is your work reaching others like you who struggle with certain illnesses like bulimia and emotional challenges? How are you seeing your work connect to them?
Yeah. That's been one of my favorite parts about what I do. It's been a really, for the most part, private journey. So a lot of the drawing the comics is, I do on my own. I spend a lot of time alone. And then I would post them online. And what is amazing to me is, how they would spread quickly, but they would often, many times you post things online and people would share things publicly. My work, I would see, would most often get shared privately. So one-to-one sharing. This made me think of you. And that made a lot of sense to me because the messages were either, kind of private, like from God to me, or from me to someone else who is struggling with something. And so they've really traveled in a really kind of private way, but still amassed, a large number of people who've seen them.
So I'm imagining this award is going to draw to you some folks who want to connect one-to-one with you. How can they reach you today?
The best way to find me is dharmacomics.com.
Congratulations. We're so very proud of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a real honor.
Watching, and we'll be liking you.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Rev Kev, and thank you for all of our next generation honorees. We honor you, and we're so grateful for your presence. And thank you, Leah. Thank you so much for being with us. So everybody that's listening in, take a deep breath because we are in the absolute home stretch. We've got our very last award coming up. We are bringing forward Dr. David Alexander. He is the Senior Minister for New Thought Center for Spiritual Living in Oswego, Oregon, and he is going to bring it home with our very last Changemaker Award. Take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Reverend Julie. That's Lake Oswego, Oregon, if anybody's looking for it.
Thank you for the correction.
No problem. No problem. Most of the time we just say Portland because everybody knows Portland and we're right next door. Well, I'm delighted to be with everyone, and I'm especially delighted to be introducing this very amazing man for this very special award, the Changemaker Award, special category in this first of our Walden Awards about somebody who is a trailblazer and a change maker in the world. And our first nominee for that couldn't be more perfect. I call him a living prophet because his work is prophetic and life-changing on so many levels. And that person is the Bishop, Carlton D. Pearson, a dear friend. And let me tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll hear from him. Bishop Carlton Pearson was a renowned gospel vocalist and fourth-generation Pentecostal pastor of a megachurch where more than 6,000 people packed the aisles weekly. And after a crisis of faith, he began to question the doctrine that he was touting and slowly starting to share a new message that Pearson called the gospel of inclusion. It held that everyone has already been saved and that hell doesn't exist. His followers fled, and the once charmed hero and favored son of Oral Roberts was labeled officially a heretic. The Netflix movie Come Sunday, which was released earlier this year, tells this dramatic story. And although he lost everything, Pearson emerged stronger than ever, attracting new followers who now join him in standing for global freedom from religious extremity, religious tyranny, and unreasonable dogma and fear-based theologies. He's currently working with and hosting the online community Come Monday, designed to expand consciousness and awaken people to their inner divinity. You can visit comemonday.org for more information. And so now it is my great pleasure to introduce you to the Bishop Carlton D. Pearson.
Hello, thank you so much, David, my brother from another mother for sure. You came along right at the time when I was making the shift in consciousness to expanded ways of thinking. And it's like you were an angel that was sent there to just sort of walk with me, guide me along. And we encountered Michael. You already knew Michael Beckwith, who has been coaching me all these years. His mother handed me all that stuff in the bookstore the first time I visited the church, wouldn't let me pay for it, and then shoved me out on the other room. And of course, I read the 40-day mind fast, and it attached me to Dr. now Bishop Beckwith, heart to heart. But you've been there all along, dude. You know your stuff.
Well, tell us about that story, where I met you. I met you because Michael, Dr. Michael Beckwith told me about you. He's been a mentor to me for many years, and we were together. I was just starting my church and my ministry, and he told me that actually I'd heard through a sermon of his that this unnamed bishop was visiting him in LA, and he was counseling him and talking to him about inclusion and expanded consciousness and new thought. And it was like a head scratcher. It was like, a Pentecostal minister, a Pentecostal bishop from Oral Roberts, Bible thumping, tongue speaking, pew jumping. So tell us about that journey when you were, sort of the behind the scenes that isn't in the great radio interview from This American Life, which the movie is based on. That episode's called Heretic. It's fabulous if you haven't heard it. And then, of course, the movie now, the Netflix hit, Come Sunday. But there are some pieces that aren't in either of those stories, and that's the behind the scenes of you traveling to LA, sitting at Agape, listening to Michael. How did all that come to be?
Well, I was asked first to do a to be interviewed on Stevie Wonder's television radio station in LA. And I was born and reared in Southern California. Millions of people know me there because that was my roots, my denomination. I preached quite frequently at the West Angeles Church of God in Christ, where Charles Blake, who was the presiding bishop of our denomination, pastors. His dad ordained me almost 50 years ago. So on through that, the next day after I did Stevie's show, and they got more his radio station, they got so many phone calls, the most emotional response that they'd had in years to anything on that network. Same with This American Life. Stevie called, and we had this long conversation. He asked me, had I heard of Michael Beckwith, and did I know him? And I hadn't, and I didn't. And he said, you need to get to know him. I was talking to Mark Victor Hansen around the same time. He brought him up like the same day and invited me to a session in Los Angeles where Michael was giving the benediction to one of Mark's events. And he was at the back of the room. When I walked into the room, he was standing there almost as if he was expecting me. One night, we met each other. Nobody was there to introduce us to each other. We hugged heart to heart. He came to pick me up in his car the next day. We rode all over LA, and that was the beginning of something very, very powerful. Later on, Lisa Bonet interviewed me. Emailed me after hearing This American Life, and I called her, and she already knew Michael, and they got together, and Michael gave me this interview there at the church, and I just became intrigued with him, his way of thinking. And he said to me, he said, I've been listening to you for 20 years on television, and I've always thought you were metaphysical. And I didn't know what that meant. Thought it was New Age, but I was so open to New Age. I said, tell me about it, And
so tell us a little bit about the fall, so to speak, right? Here you have thousands of people on Sundays. You have, you're a recording artist. You're known all over the world. You traveled in private jets and evangelized with Roberts and stadiums all over the place, and you go from that to almost nothing. And how was that journey for you?
Well, not many people will have the experience of going from quote unquote hero to zero. And to me, it seemed like hours. It actually was a few years. But every belief, disbelief, new belief, or changed belief has a story to go with it. And your life begins to evolve and involve and sometimes dissolve you to better, sometimes bitter, but broader ways of thinking. And so when I stopped believing based on my grief over so many of my loved ones and friends, particularly families and grandparents that died in, according to my tradition, were burning in hell, weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth for infinity, even though the scripture says his mercy endures forever, I couldn't reconcile the two. And I voted for mercy enduring forever. And actually, when they first came out with with This American Life or the NBC Dateline special, they said all this happened to me, not because I was unfaithful to my wife or embezzled money from the church, but because I stopped believing in hell. Well, at that time, I still believed in hell. I just didn't believe anybody would be to hell in there. So it really pushed me then to say, well, why do you think this way? Why are you believing in hell? And that was another journey within another intersection in the journey that brought us all the way to the movie.
Well, and Bishop Carlton, thank you so much for continuing to say yes.
Yes.
For continuing to learn with us, continuing to teach us, and continuing to share your thoughts, your ideas, your consciousness. And I also wanted to say thanks again for saying yes to Science of Mind magazine. The November issue of Science of Mind magazine features you and speaks about your story in the movie. So for those who may not be aware, Science of Mind is available at all Barnes and Nobles, and we invite them to pick up a copy of the November magazine and learn more of your story if they're not already familiar with you.
Well, thank you. David Goldberg just texted me, and Donna Moss is the first person that got me involved in Science of Mind and expanded consciousness. And I wish I could have heard more of these stories tonight. These are some of the most fascinating people and stories and testimonies I've ever heard. I want to hug everybody, squeeze everybody, kiss everybody, and hang out with them the rest of my life. So New Thought has really given me a new thought and a new way. And some folks call themselves New Thought and haven't actually had one in 30 or 40 years. But I'm meeting people that really are having new thoughts and are becoming new thoughts. And I'm inviting thousands to rethink, which is the word for repent. So I've never been happier in my life, to be honest with you.
And what's the best way for people to connect with you, Carlton?
You can go to comemonday.org. That's the new. Come Sunday is the movie. Come Monday is the movement. Away from old wine, old wineskins, and old religious winos. Something new. So, or bishoppearson.com, but comemonday.org is where we really are right now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize and maybe invite you in closing, Carlton, to talk about one of the things that I always asked you was, who else is there? You know, are you a unicorn? Are you like the one and only person that's had this change? And you would tell me, no, there's hundreds. Pastors call me all the time. They text me, they email me. They don't want to come out because they're afraid. They don't want to express. But there is a movement, right? There is this expanded consciousness movement that's happening even within traditional evangelical Pentecostal circles. One of the headings in your book, The Gospel of Inclusion, one of the great books, one of two, I think, that you've written. I think you have another one on the way, right?
Yeah, well, I've got God is not a Christian,
right.
And then the next one is You're Not in Trouble, You're in Transition.
Oh, I love that.
Making, managing, and mastering change. So
one of the headings in this book is the angry God concept is a mental illness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people are waking up from that mental illness. So maybe just in closing, share a little bit about the number of people that have coming out because of you.
Well, there are literally thousands. About 1,200 churches close in this country every year, and about 1,200 ministers leave the ministry. And I'm hearing from literally thousands of people, but hundreds, dozens a week or a month of pastors, ends up hundreds of my tradition and others similar to it. We're saying, man, please don't stop. I haven't come out yet, but I'm looking out. I'm reading your book the second or third time. I don't have a theological problem with you. It's a business decision. I got to eat. I got a parsonage and a pension. So they're just, I'm getting sort of the reproach of the pioneer, but I see, and I'm very encouraged. I mean, if I could name some of the people who are calling me, some of you would recognize those names, whether they're bishops or whether they're deacons or whether they're entertainers or athletes, politicians. It's a cross-country, global shift in religious sensibilities.
That is where we're going to have to leave it, and we'll leave it with that cliffhanger. And perhaps you can join us with a few of those teasers on next year's awards.
We'll do it. Thank you so much.
Bishop Carlton, thank you. Dr. David, you're extraordinary. Thank you for your service.
And Bishop Carlton, can you hang out for a little bit? Because we're going to close out in a few minutes, and we would love for you to do our closing benediction.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Pleasure.
A few more minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll be right here. Thanks, David.
Thank you, brother.
Rep Kev.
So now we would like to invite you into...
Something great is happening. Love has taken hold and it won't let go of us now.
Something here is calling us forward, upward motion with drops in one ocean. Roll on.
Will you rise up with me today? Lift up your voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Oh, 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 oh.
Every day's a chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shine.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice.
Lift up my voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Hey. One dream, one voice, one heart, one word, one dream, one voice, one heart, one word. Stand together. One dream, one voice, one heart, one word. Stand together. Live the dream of your highest calling. Be the hope of a new day dawning. We're the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together. Yeah, yeah. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's the moment for our greatness. Let's stand together now. Stand together. Live the dream. Be the hope of a new day dawning. Be the ones who can make a difference. Let's stand together now. Share your gifts with the world that's waiting for a change that we're all creating. It's a moment for our greatness.
So as we head to the home stretch, we just want to thank all of you for participating. Thank you to all of our honorees. Thank you to all of our co-presenters. And what an extraordinary experience it has been. So for those who are still with us or those who may be tuning in later, you may now officially begin placing your nominations for the 2019 Walden Awards. You can find links on our Unity, CSL, Science of Mind magazine, and Agape websites. Let's please join together with a moment of gratitude for the entire New Thought Summit Committee that made this program possible. With a special shout out to Dr. Barbara Fields, who truly made this spectacular evening possible with her extraordinary engineering skills.
Yes, thank you so much from all of us here with the New Thought Walden Awards. Thank you and God bless you. Bishop Carlton Pierce, will you take us home and give us our benediction?
Pleasure. Sure love that group. That song was benediction enough for me. It was
right?
amazing.
That was Faith Rivera. Thank you.
You got to remember that and get their CD. But thank you all for everything that you've done, for who you are, who you're becoming and helping us become. And to the great, intelligent, spaceless, nameless, faceless, ageless, timeless reality that some of us like to call God. We're grateful for the collective wisdom and talent, giftings and generosity of all the people connected with tonight's program and those who have expanded this wonderful message to the rest of the world. The blessings that make rich and that bring no sorrow, that expand and produce abundance and abounding grace and victory in all of our lives. We say thank you. We embrace together to say we believe in each other and the God that expresses itself to, through, and as us in the earth. And so it is. Wonderful evening, wonderful night, and wonderful eternity for everybody.
And so it is. Amen. Thank you, Bishop Carlton Pearson. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night. Lead the